To have a full flight of 2 days, they must close if they are to get back from out of space into the atmosphere. If they fail to close, of course, the space shuttle would not be able to re-enter the Earth's atmosphere, and that would amount to a catastrophe. I must say one thing, Frank, while I'm thinking about it, that early on in this flight, here at Mission Control, the word was go, go, go. It seems that everything is operating on schedule. Here is Shuttle Control.
The first television transmission should occur at, or should be received at 1 hour, 36 minutes, 22 seconds. The payload bay door opening. This will occur over the States. We also have a report from the surgeon that at external tank separation, heart rates read as follows. For Commander John Young, 110, and for pilot Bob Crippen, 130. We're at 1 hour, 23 minutes mission elapsed time. This is Shuttle Control, Houston.
Well, that's interesting, Gene Cernan, that John Young's heartbeat went up a little higher at the separation of the external tank from the orbiter than it did from the launch from the pad.
Well, he's a pretty busy man during that launch time from the pad, but as I said, I think John will admit it to himself, you know, if you don't get a little apprehensive now and then, you don't really understand the problem. That external tank separation was a big thing for them. Had they not been able to get that tank off, it would have been a very critical situation.
And at that point, too, they were gliding, weren't they?
Oh, yeah, they were coasting. They were in zero gravity. Once that main engine shut down, you go from, they were at about approximately 3 Gs, or 3 times the force of gravity. And as soon as that engine shuts down, they go immediately into zero gravity, and little things, pencils and a few things that you haven't secured start floating around. And that's when your stomach, your stomach just goes from about down in the middle of your belly up through your throat, and then slowly works its way down again. It's like going over a hump in a road.
A very big hump. Well, so far everything has worked well. Everything has separated. The SRBs, those solid rocket boosters, have been sighted but not yet recovered. They did come down, we understand, about 16 miles or so from the awaiting recovery ships, and of course they will be returned and refurbished to be used on later shuttle flights. We are 1 hour and 24 minutes and 55 seconds into the mission of Columbia. By the way, speaking of the SRBs and their recovery, a Russian trawler that had been in the recovery area earlier Sunday was ordered to leave the area and was escorted out by a United States Coast Guard cutter. A Russian trawler, probably a fishing vessel, and they sometimes have some fishing vessels with some very sophisticated equipment that frequently have little to do with fish.
Well, Frank,
yes.
I don't think we really didn't want anyone to get hurt down there. You know, those boosters can fall on somebody. We certainly wouldn't want them to fall on a Russian trawler.
Not at 60 miles an hour. They can put a big dent in the electronic ear, as well as the fish hold, which it doesn't have.
Yes, I remember there's during several years ago, and he might still be out there, there was always a Russian submarine parked just offshore in Guam to monitor the takeoff of the B-52s from Guam during the Vietnam War. Sometimes you were able to see the thing out there, you know. It was not very far away on station. And there were fishing boats around that one, too.
Realistically, I assume they probably got some pretty good offshore photography of our launch,
sure,
as they have in the past. And again, you know, our launch is open to the world. Everyone's got a right to watch it and take whatever pictures they want, and I suppose they do, too, offshore.
And, of course, they don't believe, Gene and Frank, that we don't use secret electronic frequencies on these kind of missions, which we don't use. They could tune in to the same high frequency and VHF equipment you can buy in Radio Shack or any amateur store and get it the same equipment.
Jules, is there no provision, and Jane, too, would you tell me, is there no provision for any private communication between the spacecraft and Houston?
I'm sure there is, Gene.
There is, Frank. There's provisions for private communications. There always has been in the past. You question how private is private. Anyone can pick up certain frequencies with the proper communications equipment anywhere in the world, but when we think of private, we think of private in a sense, to talk and discuss some things that we would like to come up with answers for before, for instance, the rest of the world solves our problem for us without really knowing what it is.
What was that marvelous story that an Israeli amateur with marvelous radio equipment had monitored the entire U.S. Attempt to rescue the hostages and kept his mouth quiet during the time?
Yes.
But Frank, I also will say I've had a chance to fly 3 times, and there's nothing that I ever said that wasn't heard by you and the rest of the people in this country around the world.
You've never had any reason, huh?
Matter of fact, there were a couple things I said by accident that I really wish someone hadn't heard. But that's true. For the most part, almost 100% of all our communications is totally accessible to anybody and everybody all the time.
And certainly on launch it is, Gene.
Well, we are... Yes,
no
thank
need
you,
to
gentlemen.
conceal anything on launch. No private comm.
We are, according to my calculations, about 7 minutes away from the first television transmission from space, when we see the opening of the cargo bay doors, that 60-foot-long cargo bay. The doors must open and must close in space if the space shuttle is to be operational and fully functional. And the first television transmission of that operation should come at about 1 hour and 36 minutes into the flight, and we are now 1 hour and 28 minutes and 40 seconds into the flight. So we still have some time as the astronauts cross the Pacific and move up toward the southern coast of the United States. Actually, that mission, or that operation of opening and closing the payload doors, cargo bay doors, will take place over the continental United States. So we're going to continue with our coverage of the Space Shuttle Columbia in just a moment.
This is CoverGirl Professional Mascara with a curved brush to color and curl perfectly. CoverGirl Professional Mascara.
Tomorrow on Soap, Chester agrees to duel to the death to get Jessica back.
Eye injuries are common at home and industry. Foreign objects often enter the eye, causing redness, blurring, and sensitivity to light. When this happens, keep the person from rubbing the eye. The object can usually be found with gentle pulling on the eyelids. If it can be easily removed, the object should be lifted off the eye with the corner of a handkerchief or flushed out with water. If it is not easily removed, patch the eye and transport the person to a physician.
Hello, I'm Janine Wortman. Reading is the key to success, both in school and on the job. Through books, I've made many friends, happy friends, serious friends, funny friends, and wise friends who have shared their knowledge with me. Through them, my life has been enriched immeasurably.
Rockford Public Schools encourage parents and children to build good reading habits by joining the Reading Together program. For information, call 968-0871.
WREX-TV, Rockford, Illinois.
From the Kennedy Space Center in Florida, Frank Reynolds.
You see the big countdown clock here, which faces the grandstand, where various people have been permitted to watch the launch of the shuttle and the flag flying there. Just across the water and about 3.5 miles away is the launch pad from which Columbia launched 1 hour, 31 minutes, and 5 seconds ago. Let's see it again. Many of you, no doubt, were not up in time to see that. I'm sorry, we're going to hear some communications first, apparently, before we actually have the video replay.
We're ready to open the right door. Shuttle Control, Houston. Roger, Columbia. We show all the latches released on the center line and all on the bulkhead, with the exception of the port forward and port end. We got D on over here, and yes, take a look at that.
It sounds, Frank, like they're getting those latches open at this time, but I hear 2 of them haven't yet opened.
Yes.
They'd earlier positioned the spacecraft for the maneuver.
Stop this thing around a little, so it's kind of nice to get the run here. Roger. You guys get TV down there?
We can be...
We're going to have to wait till we get to Myra, but we'll be waiting for it. And it'll be 3 minutes before we get to Myra where we get the TV flag. You are missing one fantastic sight. Because here comes the right door. And oh boy, that is really beautiful out there.
Sounds like they've got one door open, which is a great sign.
We appreciate those great view updates.
That's Crippen confirming
Roger that.
There's the right door open.
Who's the
We can see a little crash floating out of the payload bay, but nothing really all that significant.
Sometimes it's a little hard to understand the crew.
Just fine,
Well,
and the door looks like she's doing her thing. Roger, Columbia, and we're just trying this one on S-band only.
and we ought to be waiting for TV here any moment from the spacecraft, and we ourselves can see these doors open.
A couple of minutes, I think, yes, Gene.
Columbia, we'd like a voice check on Air Ground 1 only, please. You want us to come down on Air Ground 1? No, just the fact you're getting us is fine. That should do it. Okay, we're getting you fine. The starboard door is open on Columbia. We're at 1 hour and 33 minutes mission last time. Standing by for the television transmission.
They're doing this over the United States so they get the maximum coverage. We've got the whole communications and then, of course, video coverage, television coverage from the time they hit California until the time they cross out over Bermuda, which certainly gives us an advantage in monitoring those doors. And should they have any problems with it, of course, Mission Control can anticipate the solution to those problems.
Well, the starboard bay door is open now. That's been confirmed.
The starboard door, that's the right-hand door if you're facing forward on the shuttle spacecraft. And it opens quite wide. It opens like a big clamshell. It just doesn't open a 90-degree angle. I don't know exactly the full swing of that door, but it opens so that when you take payloads out or put them in, the doors are almost completely laying open against the side, the fuselage of the shuttle. I really hope we get a good view of that. I anticipate a good picture here very shortly.
And that's important, too, because of the cooling requirements of the spacecraft.
Extremely important at this time. The radiators are used for cooling, and they are the primary source of cooling all the equipment, the electronic equipment, and, of course, keeping the atmosphere in which the crew is working in cool. So it is essential. Now, they do have one door open, which means they have partial cooling, because I believe they have radiators on both panels.
There are 4 doors, though.
But in order to complete the mission successfully, of course, they've also got to be able not only to open the doors, but to close them again.
But we have...
By for closure of the starboard door.
They're talking about closing the starboard door. That's this door on this right-hand side. You can see how far it actually swings open to get it completely out of the way. Now, if Bob Crippen had to go out there and work these latches that are located in here, it would certainly not be an easy task, but I think we've proven in the past that we have the ability to work outside the spacecraft. Certainly the repair on Skylab show that what we can do when we have to.
The starboard door is now closed.
Okay, we now have the door
we
closed.
have half a picture.
Okay, we'll get the pictures now.
Okay, I just got the right door closed. All that came back nice. We're getting ready to latch it back up.
I believe we may be looking at the top of the doors. We'll have to decipher this picture in a moment.
Well, it looks more like an X-ray than anything else, doesn't it, at this point? I don't think we've got it right now.
Well,
Go ahead, Gene, with your demonstration. They've got the starboard door opened and closed already.
Okay, they've got it.
Columbia, Houston, the picture's looking good to us. Roger that.
They get a note of a little excitement in the crew because once they can open and close those doors, I think they feel that that their mission is a success at that point in time. Some other experiments and operational tests are run, but basically when they get this done, they have proved that there is a capability under the seat of that spacecraft they're flying.
That's how Crippen,
You notice the things floating around in the weightlessness there, Gene. Can you see? It's not a picture that is very clear to many of us. Possibly to the technicians and the scientists there in Houston, they can recognize everything.
Well, I'm really searching for some movement, hoping that...
Houston, we'd like to verify that the DFI is in high sample.
hoping that we can see that, that other door open. I believe this television camera, as we're showing here, is inside the cargo bay, which, of course, would be a contained, a closed compartment, which is in zero gravity, certainly.
There's still a few things floating
We
around.
show all of the bulkhead latches closed now, and they're now going up the center line.
There's two sets of cameras, looking aft this way and looking forward from here.
What they're doing is verifying now in mission control via telemetry that those latches have indeed closed, and that will prove out the operation of that one single door.
We can see the interior wall there of the cargo bay up on the right-hand side of the picture, give you an idea of the dimensions of it. It's quite big.
Well, remember, inside that cargo bay, you can carry something equivalent.
Houston, we'd like to verify that the DFI is in high sample, please.
You can carry something equivalent in size to two large, big passenger buses.
High sample, I've got a great tug back at this time, like it's still running.
Well, there's going to be a space lab in there, too, isn't there, Jim?
Pardon?
There will be a space lab in there, too,
yes,
Europeans.
there's a joint European United States space laboratory that will be carried up on one of the later flights with European crew members manning that laboratory, and that laboratory will fit inside that cargo bay door, inside the cargo bay. It covers the bulk of the fuselage or the body of the Columbia shuttle spacecraft.
And there will be plenty of opportunity for others to take part in the space operations, really. They have the getaway specials for, what, as little as $3,000. People can put tiny canisters on board, see how you can carry out experiments in space.
We'd like to know if your TV pictures...
Well, there's telescope payload being developed. There's also payloads which will have their own rocket engine, which will propel them to orbits much further out than the shuttle can actually carry them itself.
The telescope is really going to be a fantastic thing, isn't it? That goes up in 1985, is it?
It's not too far away, Frank.
And that will be, well, people say that that's just going to make the telescopes that we have on Earth appear like, you know, like these little binoculars that I tried to watch the ascent with.
This is to you that when we opened up that right door, well, first when we opened up the center lines, we noticed no movement at all in the door. When I opened up the 4.5 bulkheads, it maybe bounced up half an inch, and door opened up nice and smooth, came back. It looked like we had come through about position alpha, and it came on down all the way to getting a close.
Bob.
This is Shuttle Control, Houston. 1 hour and 40 minutes mission elapsed time. We show Bob Crippen again unlatching the doors, going down the center line now. Roger, Cripp, we copied the first part of that, and then we went into a handover, but we copied that everything was right down the pike on the closing. That's affirmative.
Bob Crippen was describing the manner in which the door opened, and as I observed, everything was extremely nominal. This camera, I believe, is pointed right at the center line of the cargo bay on the interior side, and if that is a case, we ought to see first movement at that point when he opens that other door.
Shuttle Control, Houston, all of the center line latches are released now.
Okay, I think we can look for some movement very shortly on that other door.
In Columbia, Houston, we'd like the DFI to stop until we figure out what the problem is. I'm sorry, Dan, say that one again. Roger, on that DFI recorder, we'd like it to stop until we figure out what the problem is. Okay, we're in stop. Thank you.
What is this now, Gene? He mentioned a problem?
Yes, remember when these cargo bay doors open and we can see out into space, we'll actually be looking back down into Earth because the spacecraft, remember, is upside down in orbit. The camera, when this door opens, we might very well see a picture of ourselves as it goes over this part of Florida. That would be, in itself, a spectacular view.
Two cameras, Gene, one facing aft and one facing forward. We should get a spectacular view of the Earth.
These are generally slow and methodical processes because of the seriousness of the nature of examining the opening and closing of the latches, something so critical to the shuttle operation itself. And That is why it is taking so long. That is why we plan something like this to occur over the long period of communications passes over the United States.
Yes, and they are over this country now.
And Columbia, Houston, one more confirmation on that. We'd like to confirm that the DFI PCM is the one that you turned off. Stand by one. The PCM recorder is in stop. That's a firm on the DFI. DFI PCM recorder in stop. FTOP. Roger, thank you, Chris.
These doors are obviously very heavy, but here again, in zero gravity, remember, these doors have no weight constraints working against them as they would if they were sitting here on Earth. They're sort of free-swinging doors. It takes a lot less energy or power to move those doors to swing them open and close.
Shuttle Control Houston at 1 hour 43 minutes mission elapsed time. We've lost our television transmission as we've passed out of Milas station range. We're under acquisition now through Bermuda. However, we will pick up television again on the Madrid pass in a little less than 10 minutes.
So they've gone across the United States
1 hour
now.
43 minutes mission elapsed time. This is Shuttle Control Houston.
Well, Gene, we're not going to be able to have a look at least the United States on this particular pass, are we?
No, I don't think we're going to. The main thing was to monitor, and I'm sure the ground recorded the television that they were able to receive of these doors opening and closing.
Well, did we get confirmation that the other door opened and closed?
No, I heard them say that they got the center line latches unlatched again after they confirmed they were closed.
LOS on the TV, and for that recorder, we'd like you to pull a circuit breaker to see if we can get that thing stopped. And that's on panel R11. It's the forward container recorder main C circuit breaker on row G. Okay, it's full. Thank you.
Frank,
yes.
I must correct an error. I guess a veteran in spaceflight has the right to make a mistake, too. These gentlemen launched in a direction or an angle to the north of east. As a result, as the world rotates, of course, they will pass and have passed to the north of us. I keep thinking parochially, perhaps, on Apollo 17, we launched to the south, and as a result, we passed south of here on our second pass. So if you'll forgive me for that mistake.
Yes, Gene, we'll forgive you that mistake.
All right, thank you.
Well, actually, they went over Texas, didn't they? Over Texas and on up towards Washington, I believe, in the eastern seaboard there.
That's
New York,
right.
So forth.
And they will continue to move further north over the United States to their maximum northern angle, I believe, of about 40 to 44 degrees latitude. And they will cover the 44 degrees north and 44 degrees south, which gives them a major segment of the populace of the entire world.
Well, go ahead, Gene.
Well, I was just going to say, I keep thinking about their flight and looking at this vehicle and holding it. It sure does sort of make you homesick.
Well, I tell you, what I'm really looking forward to now, I mean, since they've got one set of doors open, you like to believe that they're probably going to be able to get the others opened and closed. Well, the landing is really going to be something to see and to
well, the major step, obviously, once it looks like the vehicle is performing on orbit. The fuel cells seem to be performing well. We've used fuel cells before. If we get these doors...
Shuttle Control Houston at 1 hour 46 minutes mission elapsed time, less than a minute away now from loss of signal through Bermuda.
And Columbia, Houston, we're about 30 seconds from LOS, so we'll see you at Madrid in 1 hour and 53 minutes.
The recorder...
coming up now.
The recorder being discussed on this pass is a real-time development flight instrumentation that would be used
You see where the astronauts are now, swinging out over the Atlantic once again, the second time around. They launched considerably south of where they are now from here at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida, and they've now swung up over the northeastern United States and are heading northward back out across the Atlantic for the second time. We expect to hear more on the television transmission in the next several minutes. We did note that there are contingency plans if they have difficulty opening and closing the doors, but those plans are a bit cumbersome, and they would obviously prefer not to have to put them into effect. But Bob Crippen talked about them before the mission. and explain just what is involved if things go wrong with the opening and closing of the doors. Here's what he said.
We have to have the cooling effect of the radiators, which are on the inside of the doors, if we plan to stay up overnight. But prior to opening the doors, the spacecraft is cooled by, just like your body is cooled. We use evaporation of water that is flashed out in the vacuum over the cooling lines, and we only carry enough water to last us enough for one day without doing an extensive power down. It is possible if for some reason we ran into a problem, couldn't get the doors open, and we had another reason we did not want to go ahead and deorbit because of some other kind of a systems problem, we could probably do an extensive power down of the spacecraft to keep it from building up so much heat. Thereby, it wouldn't use as much water and to last till the next day.
Yes, that was Bob Crippen in an interview recorded some time ago in which he described how important it is, actually, to open and close the doors and the difficulties involved in attempting to do that manually in the event any of the elaborate mechanisms for doing it mechanically do not work out. Well, we are 1 hour and 48 minutes and 5 seconds, to be precise, into the mission of Columbia, the first space shuttle ever to go into space. It's been a marvelous morning so far. Everything has worked very well. The liftoff was unbelievable. I think if we've got a package ready, we could probably see it again, because it's now, what, almost 10 minutes to 9 in the eastern part of the country, and probably a good many people have missed it. I wouldn't mind seeing it again if you gentlemen can whomp it up for us. We're going to see some live television, we believe, again, very shortly, in a few minutes, as the astronauts are able to transmit signals to us. Let's see the replay of the launch, which took place less than 2 hours ago. If you missed it, you really missed something. Here it goes. Across the waters. And those tremendous engines light up, and there she goes.
Frank, there again we see where it didn't stay on the pad very long. As soon as those solid engines lit off, it, as we described before, it just sort of leaped into space.
Solids with the extra kick, Gene, to get it off the pad in a hurry.
The extra thrust. It's got greater thrust over weight than the Apollo spacecraft had, which gives it that extra kick.
Frank, Crip, when I did the interview, by the way, which you showed a minute ago, I asked what were the... how would he define a successful flight? And he said, getting up safely, open the doors and get it down safely, even if it only lasted half a day. They would consider that a success. They would have proven the vehicle could take off, accomplish its main objective, opening doors, to drop off cargo, and land safely.
Jules, we're going to have a quick look at it again as it takes off, this time from a somewhat more distant angle. You can see the...
America's first space shuttle.
Tremendous clouds that just billowed forth from it. And look at it rising. It looks like a statue going up, doesn't it?
It surely does. It's just a perfect plume coming out of those rocket engines.
You can see it roll there, too.
Those solid rockets that are attached to the sides are, I believe, somewhere around 12 feet each in diameter.
The biggest solids ever built, yes. They are 12 feet. And the solids are considerably longer than either the external tank or the spacecraft itself. They're some 180 feet long.
It's just too bad that everyone couldn't have been here today, although I will admit it was very crowded, but it is a spectacular thing to view and be part of in person. Frank, I think you felt like we did here about 30 seconds before the launch. The atmosphere, you can feel some kind of electricity in the air out here, no matter whether you're 2, 3, or 4 miles away, and I'm sure the people on the causeway out there felt the same thing. There's an element of excitement, of pride, of prayer, and it's like we all go up. It's like everyone here was just helping that 7 million pounds of thrust.
Yeah, everybody is kind of pushing and pulling at the same time, yes. Gene, we did not get the television transmission that we expected there in that first pass, and I still don't have any confirmation. Do you that the other door...
Yes, I did, Frank. Just as they lost communications contact, we didn't see it on television, but I heard John say specifically the other door or the port door, I'm not sure how he described it, is coming open. So I believe just as we lost him, it was opening. I assume we'll get that confirmation over Bermuda.
Yes, because we can get television there, can't we? No, we cannot. Yeah, Madrid is the next place where we'll get
Okay,
the
this other door, remember again, I'll tilt it up a little bit, but they're actually in orbit like this, moving in this direction, upside down. Their windows in their cockpit are here, which gives them a chance to see the Earth and a chance to see the horizon. If they were like this, as well as for cooling characteristics, they would see nothing but the nose of the spacecraft.
And the picture looks great.
Here's the live television now.
And we do have a couple of flight notes we'd like to pass, and also let you know that your go for item 48. Okay, thank you. We appreciate that. Doors are all opened up and hunky-dory.
I believe we're looking at that one door that is actually leaning open. That port door must be open at this point.
Shuttle Control, Houston, we show both payload bay doors open.
It has to be.
Okay, what camera y'all looking at right now? Do you know? Roger, we're looking at out the forward camera. Okay, we want to show you our home spot here. We do have a few tiles missing off of both of them, off of the starboard pod. It's got basically...
It looks very well that they may now have maneuvered into an attitude nose up, so that they're actually looking. The background could very well be the blackness of space.
Looks like a few little triangular shapes that are missing, and we're trying to put that on TV right now. Roger, Grip, we can see that good.
We're looking aft. I believe those humps you see are the humps of the Ohm's maneuvering engines, and we saw the tail, or the vertical stabilizer, the rudder, if you will, just a moment ago. We're looking aft, I believe, at this point.
That's the camera.
And Columbia, Houston.
Yes, Gene, what about the tiles?
Those are tiles indeed. And we're looking, the camera is the camera showing us this picture is in the rear of the fuselage.
And it is showing us the exterior of the fuselage in the blackness of space.
And they must have,
and are there missing tiles?
They must have turned the vehicle right side up, Frank.
Gene, can you detect?
Okay, the red lights are coming loose. Roger.
There now we see I believe that there's the vertical fin. There's the tail. So we're looking aft, and that was correct. We were looking at the Ohm's engines, the aft section, or the bubbles that you saw on the back part of the fuselage.
Gene, did you detect or notice any missing tile?
No.
I thought I heard a reference to that.
Okay,
no, Frank, I didn't, but for the most part, these are the less critical areas of tile placements. The more critical heat-absorbing areas are on the bottom side of the wing and the forward nose of the fuselage.
Mm-hmm. Because that's where it bears the full brunt of the re-entry.
See, we are indeed, the little circle, you're seeing the horizon of the Earth on top. We are indeed upside down. You're looking at the horizon of the Earth on the top of the picture, and the tail, beyond the tail, is the blackness of space. So they indeed are upside down, and you were looking at a curvature of the Earth.
Well, I saw a cloud there a minute ago.
So their attitude is inverted as it was planned. They didn't change that, and if we come back to that sequence again, I think we better be able to point it out.
Report from John Young showing a few of the missing tiles. Also, he reported
and Columbia, we're 30 seconds from LOS. We'll see you at the Indy at 2+12. Roger, we'll see you there. And the radiators look good.
There's a perfect view of one of the doors open.
Hands are deployed, right on time.
And that is looking forward. I'm sure that's looking forward from one of the aft cameras.
Young also reported that the tiles on the wing their wings appeared to be intact.
I hold here in my hand a sample of the tile, and somebody, I think it was Young, expressed concern about a missing tile. Now it was a tile looking back, missing from a tile from the aft fuselage area, which, as Gene said, is less critical than the super critical areas for re-entry are the tiles on the leading edges of the wing and the underside and the forward part of the nose.
Well, Gene, can they confirm that those tiles in the critical areas there on the spacecraft are still intact?
Well, they certainly can't see them visually, and there's only a certain amount of telemetry, I believe, that looks at the tile system. So, indeed, they cannot really determine whether any one of those more than 30,000 pieces of tile are gone, except what they can see visually.
Well, if there had been, you know, as people said, what do they call it, the zipper effect? If one went off and then the others followed.
Well, you
do
saw
you mean to say that they would not be able to know that,
now,
so that we might actually come up to the point of re-entry, not sure whether we have the tiles still?
Now, Frank, that would occur at the point of maximum aerodynamic pressure, which is well within the scope of some of our tracking cameras. And if you saw that kind of ripple effect with some of our high-powered cameras, I feel certain we would have known that and would have seen that long before they ever got into orbit. And none of that was reported. None of that was seen.
Well, is that missing tile?
There's the area where several tiles are missing, Gene and Frank.
Looks like they may very well be right on this
top of the
section.
ohms cowling, engine cowling, if you will. And that could well have reverberated off.
Well, you must understand, when this vehicle re-enters the Earth, it enters this way, and a fireball that it encounters as a friction of the Earth slows it, or friction of the atmosphere slows it down, hits it in this section of the fuselage and under the wing. And of course, that fireball will wrap around the nose, wrap around the wings. Now, the bottom section and the leading edge of the wings and the leading edge of the nose are the most heat-critical portions of this entire vehicle during re-entry. The tiles in the back section, I can't tell you exactly, but perhaps have to accept less than 1,000 degrees, 1,000 to 1,500 degrees temperature change.
Well, if they did come off, and as, obviously there are a few missing tiles, that was caused probably during the early moments of launch, wasn't it? When they had the maximum vibration there.
John reported on the main engine burn that it was a relatively smooth ride and there was no pogo. They didn't say anything about the roughness of the ride on the solid rocket boosters, nor did they say anything about going through the area of maximum pressure where the thickness of the Earth and the speed of the vehicle combined to make it the most rugged and difficult part to transfer through.
Well, I suppose in time we'll find out why the tiles came off at that one particular point. That really wasn't the point subjected to the most pressure, but perhaps the vibration.
Vibrations backed by the engines, and I think probably rather than aerodynamic pressure tearing those off, it could very well have been a vibration of the aft section of the spacecraft.
Yeah. All right, Gene, we mentioned before the zipper effect, where some people have advanced the theory or speculated about it, that if one came off, they might all come off. That seems unlikely because they are not attached one to another. They're all put on separately.
Oh,
but John Young, yes, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jules.
You disproved the zipper effect by the pattern of the 2 tiles or 3 tiles missing back here, which we saw. Had there been a zipper effect, there would have been a whole row of tiles missing.
Well, I think maybe we can pick up a remark made by John Young, who is certainly vitally interested in all this right at this moment. We talked with him before the launch, of course, and he talked about the possibility of some of the tiles coming loose and the so-called zipper effect. Let's play that tape for you now.
Well, if you don't have any tiles on the bottom, the vehicle's going to burn up. If you have a lot of tiles on the bottom, the vehicle won't burn up. Where the tiles are and what the effect of them is really a sort of an unknown thing. You can lose a tile in a certain area, a single tile, and I don't think it'll do anything to you. My personal opinion is, I've heard people say there's going to be a zipper effect. Well, there really isn't a zipper effect. Each one of those tiles is put on individually, and they're designed 4 to 5 times the strength that they need for the dynamic pressure they're going to see.
Well, that's John Young stating in a very succinct manner what could happen. He says if you don't have any tiles on the bottom, the vehicle is going to burn up, and if you have a lot of tiles on the bottom, the vehicle won't burn up. Mission Control has now confirmed that the missing tiles pose no threat to the crew. We saw only just a couple of them, so we'll go for a report on that now to Max Robinson, who is in Mission Control in Houston. Max?
Well, Frank, pretty much what you're saying. We have just gotten a report that those tiles are not critical. They would not interfere with this mission at all. We are also told that after landing, the only thing that would probably have to be done would be to replace the patch of skin under the tiles, and that presumably would be a very minor job. Again, the tiles that came off are not critical. We don't have any idea about the underside, the very critical area of the shuttle, which is very critical on re-entry when that plane enters the Earth's atmosphere. We don't know what the condition of the tiles happen to be at this point, but there's no indication that any of those tiles are off at this point. Frank?
Well, the tiles, of course, are very important because the shuttle is supposed to be reusable. And that's why they've put on this permanent covering to enable it to come back down through the Earth's atmosphere and subject itself to that tremendous heat and survive. And then bring it back here to Kennedy and get it ready and launch it again. Before, of course, all space missions concluded with the spacecraft coming back through the Earth's atmosphere with an ablative material that just disintegrated and burned up in the Earth's atmosphere. But that was in the days when we were not attempting to make more than one use of the individual missions. 2 minutes, 2 hours. Go ahead, Gene.
No, it's Jules, Frank.
All
I
right,
can
Jules.
guarantee you that Rockwell engineers and NASA engineers have already begun work in heat tunnels trying to simulate the forces of dynamic Q, maximum pressure that is, at liftoff, to see whether any of the tiles did come off, could come off, might have come off, the forward nose area, or the leading edge of the wings, the critical areas for reentry. Because, as Gene said, and as you now know, there's no way to see or to remotely tell whether any tiles have come off these areas. You can't look back from the cockpit to see the leading edge of the wing, nor can you see or tell what's going on underneath here. And even if there were a camera, on a portable camera, with a remote tether, which there's not, by the way, Crippen would have to go out and do an EVA to minutely, surgically analyze how many of the 32,000 tiles were missing. A massive job.
The tiles, Frank, are indeed for two purposes, to protect against the heat of reentry. But remember, once this spacecraft, this airplane returns back into the atmosphere, it must fly like an airplane. So indeed, those tiles have to form a smooth aerodynamic boundary over the surface of the wing, just like the smooth wing surfaces we see on our airliners. So indeed, when they burn, they have been planned and designed to burn evenly so that they do continue to form that smooth aerodynamic surface for the air to pass over as this spacecraft glides back to Earth.
And you know, I think there is somewhat of a common misconception that a great many of these tiles that are on the spacecraft right now fell off during the flight from California here, whereas actually a good many of those tiles that did fall off were not really the ones that they intended to use on the spacecraft mission, were they?
They were cosmetic tiles,
yeah,
Frank.
They were there just to provide some aerodynamics.
Taking the place of the full tiles that weren't ready. And the thing that we should point out is the full tiles are each individually computer contoured and shaped and manufactured and very large. For example, if this leading edge of the wing here is 2 or 3 feet thick, I think you'll agree it has to be that thick, Gene?
Mm-hmm.
The leading edge tiles are 6, 8, 10 inches high and aerodynamically shaped. So if you lose one, it's a big shock of aerodynamic loss.
Let's see where they are right now, huh? Do we
All
have
right.
a map that might be a good idea to locate the astronauts for you every now and then? Let's see our map and pinpoint their location. They've already gone across the United States. They've crossed the Atlantic for the second time. They've crossed Morocco. They are really right around the equator now. Here's the launch once again. We are going to continue with our coverage of the mission of Columbia, the Space Shuttle, after this from our local stations.
Tonight, Ernest Borgnine leads an army of Smokies against a fleet of two-fisted truckers in convoy.
I've talked to a lot of my friends who are fallen away Catholics and tried to tell them that the church is different, but they just don't believe me.
I know the Catholic Church is changing because I have seen the change in my community, the involvement of the church in my community.
The Catholic family is changing. I see people not only reaching out to people they know, but to strangers as well.
WREX-TV will keep you informed with up-to-the-minute weather information. Watch for the W on your screen during regular programming. That will tell you to stay tuned for a weather advisory. Watches, warnings, and special weather conditions, they'll all be covered by Channel 13's up-to-the-minute weather information service. So when you see the W, stay tuned for weather advisories and detailed reports on all weather conditions. From WREX-TV, Channel 13, Rockford, Illinois.
WREX-TV, Rockford, Illinois.
ABC News live coverage of the Space Shuttle Columbia continues. Now from the Kennedy Space Center in Florida, Frank Reynolds.
And all is quiet here at the Kennedy Space Center. The crowd practically disappeared now, those who had gathered since well before dawn this morning to watch the magnificent launch of the Space Shuttle Columbia. We've been talking quite a bit here about the loss of some tiles. A few tiles did fall off, apparently, during the launch. But we've been assured by Mission Control that the missing tiles are not critical to the safety of the astronauts or to the completion of the mission. But it's interesting to know a little bit more about these tiles, and our correspondent, Ken Kashiwahara, who is in California, knows a good deal more about them. So he has a report that I think you'll find very interesting. Ken?
The tiles begin as a fiber-like substance called silica, made from common sand using a process similar to that used in making fiberglass. After the silica is mixed with water, it is compressed into a cube and carefully weighed and numbered. Then, like space-age loaves of bread, the silica is baked in an oven, where the fibers are fused together and any moisture removed. The tile material has to meet exact specifications. It has to withstand the severe heat of re-entry and the bitter cold of space. It has to keep the heat from penetrating the shuttle's aluminum skin. It has to be light. And unlike previous one-time-only space flights, where the heat shield simply burned off, the shuttle will fly numerous missions.
We wanted something that originally that was reusable, that could withstand repeated re-entries. We wanted something that was capable of living up to the rather high temperatures that are encountered on re-entry, and we've been successful.
The silica begins to look like tiles at the cutting edge of what appears to be ordinary workshop tools. But these are computer-controlled for preciseness. No two tiles are alike. Each has a shape and size dictated by its position on the shuttle's body. And throughout its life, each tile carries a pedigree of numbers and computer cards and documents. If, during stops at monitoring stations, a tile is found defective, other tiles cut from the same silica block can be traced and inspected. As a demonstration of just how the tiles function, this is a cube of silica which has been heated to more than 2,000 degrees, about the temperature during re-entry. Much of the heat is quickly radiated off the surface, and the rest remains trapped inside for hours.
So even though it's still glowing red hot, I can safely pick up the substance with my hands, because it's a poor conductor of heat. The heat on the inside moves to the surface very slowly, protecting the shuttle skin as it is now protecting my fingers. Ken Kashiwahara, ABC News, at the Lockheed Missiles and Space Company in Sunnyvale, California.
Thank you, Ken, and we're back at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida now, and as you can see, it's practically a deserted place compared to what the situation was here just a few hours ago. Several hours ago, as a matter of fact, people began congregating out here to see the launch, which took place 2 hours, 10 minutes, and 36 seconds ago. The astronauts have completed their second cross over the continent of Africa. They are now coming up on Madagascar, and will then be moving on down towards across the above the city of Melbourne. In past missions, I know at times there have been instances when cities in Australia, Sydney, I believe, was one. Gene, maybe you saw this, where they turn on all the lights so that the astronauts in their space vehicle could actually see the lights when they went over at nighttime. Did you ever see anything like that?
Yes, you could. I think the first instance was when John Glenn went in orbit. I believe it was the city of Perth that
Yes.
turned on their lights for John, and I know it was a significant tribute to him. And you can, from Earth orbit, from the altitude there, 130 nautical miles up, you can certainly see in lights of cities. You can see forest fires. As a matter of fact, you can see nighttime thunderstorms. It's spectacular to see lightning from the top side instead of the bottom side. And so many things are visible. 130 miles is not really very far. And at nighttime, the things that exude light, such as fires and cities, thunderstorms and lightning are very, very visible to the eye.
Well, with the naked eye, Gene, from up there.
Oh, yes.
Can you see? I mean, could you identify, like, say, Lake Michigan, Chicago, and
well, you can certainly
like
certainly identify things the size of Lake Michigan and the Great Lakes. The thing you have to do is find something you can recognize, and then you can trace around the coast, and you say, okay, there's Chicago, and there's Gary, and that's where I was born down there. In Houston, for instance, once you can find New Orleans, which is a very, very easy because of the delta, easy site to spot. You can work your way back and say, okay, that for sure is Galveston Bay, and you can work your way up into the areas you live down there. And as a matter of fact, if the sun is right, you can even see the sun shining off something the size of the Astrodome down there. But you can't pick it out. You've got to trace, sort of road map your way to it.
Everything has to be related to something else, yes. And can you see, let's say, for example, the rain over Louisiana, and yet sunshine maybe over New York?
Well, you can't quite. From 130 miles, if they were over, say, Louisiana, they would not be able to see up into the upper Midwest or the East Coast. But certainly on your way to the moon, you begin to see it all. It all takes form.
Oh, yeah.
You lose the coastlines and you pick up continents and oceans. And with one glance, you're looking across from the azure blue of the Caribbean to the deep dark blue of the Pacific. And so it takes a whole new perspective when you start to leave the Earth's near space atmosphere.
But it's still spectacular even when you're just orbiting around the Earth in an ordinary fashion.
I urge you to listen to the words of Bob Crippen throughout this flight, because I think he is going to exude the kind of excitement that the environment he is now living in and the sights he has seen excite him about. It's tremendous.
Well, it will be interesting to hear him, but I must say, Gene, you're giving us a very, very good word picture of what it must be like to see these sights from space. Jules? If we can, I'd like to go to Mission Control right now in Houston. We've been talking about the tiles, and Max Robinson is there with a man who knows a great deal about the tiles. Go ahead, Max. You got a tile man.
Frank, we're with Tony Longo with Rockwell International, the prime contractor on the Shuttle. One of the questions that has to be raised, this is incidentally one of the tiles made of silica glass, as was explained a few minutes ago. Was it anticipated that any tiles would fall off?
There was a possibility.
Well, one of the questions that we all are asking at this point, the natural question is there any kind of telemetry, any kind of data, which would feed back here to Mission Control and let us know if any of the tiles underneath, the very critical tiles, have come off?
Not to my knowledge. I don't know.
Is there any way of telling that? We certainly can't cite it visually. Is there data? Are we able to get data to tell whether the undersides of the craft have lost tiles?
There are sensors in various parts of the underside of the shuttle.
Beg pardon?
There are sensors on various parts of the underside of the shuttle.
Are we now trying to find out, I assume Mission Control is trying to find out if any of those tiles have come off? There must be some concern if some tiles have already come off on one part of the aircraft.
You should check with NASA on that. Because NASA...
This is what the tile looks like. This is silica glass, almost pure, and it deflects heat almost 100%. Again, if you can see it here, the tiles that we are talking about. What can you tell us about the situation with the tiles at this point?
There were 3 tiles off of the low heat area, and Max Vigier of NASA said that they were not in a critical area, and they were not. There was no danger to the spacecraft or the crew.
All right. Thank you very much. Frank?
Thank you, Max. Good try. Mr. Longo didn't seem to be very concerned about the loss of the tiles. I still would like to know more, though, about how we actually are going to be able to confirm whether there has been a significant tile loss in the critical part of the spacecraft. And before we go to where we had planned to go just now, I'd like to go back to Gene Cernan. Gene, did you say that we're going to be able to verify from Earth whether the tiles are in place on the underside of the spacecraft?
Well, I don't believe we'll be able to verify absolutely that none of the tiles were vibrated off the bottom side of the spacecraft. As I said, I think probably if there was what you call the zipper effect, a massive loss of tiles, that we certainly would have seen that, because it would have occurred very close here to the launch site, and the tracking cameras probably would have seen that. Now, I'm sure there's several indiscriminate temperature sensors and transducers around the skin of the aircraft. And when tiles, if they had left or in any one particular part of the spacecraft, I think we'll see some temperature variation. So we do have indirectly a way of perhaps determining whether some of those tiles have left the spacecraft. But this This is not new. You know, anything that's worthwhile is worth taking a risk. I don't mean to say this too lightly, but there are a lot of things in the past that we have not been able to verify just because of the nature of the situation. This is one of those.
Gene, Frank, one thing that is being done, I can tell you right now, is a meticulous eyeball examination of launch pad 39A to see if any other tiles came off at that spot during ignition and fell in an identifiable pattern or site. And the beach outside pad 39A, as well as the water, that tile loss, while not critical in that area, is worrisome because it could be significant of a pattern for me.
And Frank, in fact, a vehicle like this is designed, as you heard John Young say earlier, the loss of a tile or two or three or an indiscriminate tile around even the hot spots of the spacecraft, I feel would certainly not be catastrophic during reentry. We always build things with a great deal of conservatism, and we have here also.
Well, apparently, too, there is some instrumentation on board the spacecraft, too, that will enable the astronauts to determine the extent of the tile loss, if any. We have an animation here, obviously. Perhaps, Gene, you can help us describe. This is with that was with the cargo bay doors open.
This is an animation with a payload in those cargo bays, and we saw a television picture from just those two black dots right behind the cockpit are the escape hatches on top. And our television view a minute ago was looking back aft, and the tile losses were on the left side. Well, we can see it here in this model. We were looking back in this direction, and we could see the vertical fin. And the tile losses, of course, were right on these ohms bubbles. One other thing that was very unique in that television picture, the spacecraft was upside down. And while it was upside down, at the top of that picture, you could see the curvature of the Earth. You could see what the Earth looks like from 130 miles, and it is a definitive curvature at that point. And it was just above the vertical stabilizer of the spacecraft, and the spacecraft was indeed upside down.
Well, there is thermal sensory equipment really on board, though.
Frank, I believe that and I don't know this for a fact, but I would tend to believe that there is monitoring equipment on board this spacecraft because the spacecraft was designed to be relatively self-sufficient. We talk about minimizing the use of controllers on the ground because of the onboard computers. Yes. The entire concept of the development of this spacecraft was to be as self-sufficient as possible. Certainly we always need and can use help from the ground. So in determining problems, solution to problems, any malfunctions, including tile losses, I don't know specifically, but I would be willing certainly to guess that there is a capability to determine some tile losses in certain critical spots on board that spacecraft. Jules says there isn't, and perhaps that's true.
John Young told me there wasn't.
All right.
I don't form opinions.
What did John Young tell you, Jules?
What, Frank?
What did John Young tell you?
He said there was no way of telling.
Well, we understand there's a thermal sensory box.
That's experimental instrumentation in the cargo bay. That's part of the DFI, the development.
Gary from the where the people involved in getting the space shuttle off the ground have had a very good day. It was a breathtaking, heart-pounding moment when those engines began to roar, and for the first time in nearly 6 years, Americans headed back into space. Right now, the astronauts, John Young and Robert Crippen, are in their third orbit of the Earth. They are starting number 4. They've just finished their third orbit and are out over the Pacific. The astronauts have been given a go to continue in orbit until their planned return to Earth at Edwards Air Force Base in the California desert Tuesday afternoon at 1:28 Eastern Standard Time. The mission has been underway for 4 hours and 31 minutes. 5 hours from now, we expect more live television transmissions from space, and we'll bring you the report at that time. But now to review what has happened so far, and it has already been a long day, here is Steve Shepard.
Late last night, feelings began to build at Cape Canaveral as the space shuttle sat poised on pad 39 and the countdown for this morning's launch proceeded on schedule. Shortly after 2 this morning, just as they did on Friday, astronauts Young and Crippen awoke and prepared for the flight by eating a breakfast of steak and eggs. Both men are on a schedule that is supposed to make a 2 a.m. wake-up comfortable, but John Young appeared to take a few minutes extra to shake off his sleep. From breakfast, the now familiar suiting up procedure was performed again, as both astronauts stepped into their high-altitude flight gear. That was followed by the drive out to the pad itself and the astronauts' second boarding of the orbiter Columbia in the last 48 hours. As the sun rose over North Florida, it was clear to everyone that this was going to be a good day for a launch. The skies were clear, the winds light. The crowds who came for Friday's launch gathered again to view the historic first flight. If they were worried by the possibility of a delay, it didn't seem to dampen their enthusiasm. At NASA headquarters in Houston, mission controllers closely followed the operation of the 5 computers on board Columbia, watching to ensure that the problems which cropped up Friday would not reoccur again and cause a second scrubbing of the mission. At T-minus 17 minutes and counting, the computers looked good.
Columbia, Houston. We're in the control center at the Kennedy Space Center when it was verified that all 4 of the general purpose computers on board were communicating properly with the backup computer.
With only a few minutes to go, the umbilical pulled back from the shuttle and liftoff was near. When it came, it was spectacular.
T-minus 15, 14, 13, T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. We've gone for main engine start. We have main engine start. Come on, baby. Come on, baby. America's first space shuttle.
Go! Oh, honey, go. Fly like an eagle. Go.
The noise and smoke were greater than on any previous manned flights, and the trail left by the roaring rocket made a stunning imprint on the sky. The mission was working at near perfection, and all the delays and problems in the decade-long program seemed momentarily forgotten. The shuttle achieved orbit without difficulty and changed from an elliptical to a circular orbit right on schedule. Then the doors down the back of the orbiter were opened, and television pictures from the cameras inside the cargo bay revealed the day's first serious problem. They showed that a number of tiles on the orbital maneuvering system engines had come loose sometime during launch. The tiles are necessary to protect the shuttle and its crew from the heat of re-entry. The question was, were other tiles not visible on camera also missing? Tiles in critical parts of the nose and underside of the spacecraft. That is a question still being looked at. Steve Shepard, ABC News.
Well, Mission Control in Houston has verified that the loss of the few tiles in the rear section of the spacecraft, and we did obtain a picture of that when the doors were opened. There you see the missing tiles that we've circled there on the left side. These missing tiles pose no threat to the safety of the astronauts, or they say to the success of the mission. Still, it is a fact that a few of the tiles did fall off. Jules Bergman and Gene Cernan, a former astronaut and commander of Apollo 17, watched the launch from an outdoor position here at the Space Center, and they've also looked into the tile situation. Jules?
Frank, the tiles that came off were not in a critical area of the orbiter. They might have to replace the metal skin after it lands. Gene?
I might add that John Young was able to see back from his position in the cockpit and what he could see of the forward portion of the wings. There were no tiles at all missing there either.
And they decided that an EVA would be pointless because even if he did find tiles missing, they have no repair kit and could do nothing about it on board.
Jules, I think this is an indication of how confident, in spite of all the tile problems in the past, that NASA was in this respect.
And also, the two most single critical areas, Gene, the leading edges of the wings and the nose cap are not heat tiles at all. They're carbon-carbon composite and less likely to come off.
Okay, gentlemen, thank you very much. Well, even as Columbia goes through its first day in space, there are ambitious plans underway right now for future missions when the space shuttle will become fully operational and will carry cargo into space, all kinds of cargo, some quite exotic. For more on that, we go to Max Robinson in Houston. Max?
Frank, on this particular mission, the only things being carried in the orbiter's cargo bay are 2 packages, one to collect and record data on the flight, the other to gather information on the performance of the shuttle itself during key phases, launch, re-entry, and landing. Now, in the future, that bay will be a testing lab for all kinds of experiments in science and industry. Hugh Downs has more on the intended uses of the shuttle.
Yes, Max, those packages now you see behind me are the only thing being carried in the cargo bay on this mission. And right now, in the silence and emptiness of space, the cargo bay doors are open, as you see them open in this cargo bay here in Houston, in Building 9A. But this is as big as a boxcar. The shuttle is a big space truck. and it's going to carry a lot. It can carry up to 32 tons of cargo, and that will consist of satellites of various kinds, communication satellites, warning satellites that the military will have, weapons systems, exotic, as the word was used, scientific experimentation packages. At one point, Space Lab will come out about to where I'm standing now, a fully pressurized workroom for scientists and specialists. And eventually, the shuttle will probably carry the components of space stations, deep space ships, and the material out of which to build human communities in space. Right now, we're going to Dan Kortz, who has some words on the economics of space.
Launching a communications satellite by missile today costs close to $2,400 a pound. The shuttle, once it goes into regular use, will put one up for about $625 a pound. What's more, the shuttle will permit technicians to repair satellites in space or pick them up and return them to Earth for a complete overhaul. That will allow manufacturers to make satellites more complicated and to make the ground receivers so simple that they can be mounted on rooftops by homeowners. One giant communications satellite will be able to transmit 250,000 simultaneous phone calls, with potential revenues of between $40 billion and $80 billion annually by the year 2010. So it's not surprising that communications companies, U.S. and foreign, will take 38% of the shuttle's available payload capacity throughout the 1980s. But there are other customers in line. In fact, NASA says its first 50 to 60 shuttle flights are booked solid, with 300 different firms and individuals signed to send up small experimental packages for as little as $10,000 each. The first commercial apparatus, expected to be carried into orbit next year, is a system designed by Johnson & Johnson and McDonnell Douglas to produce drugs. One serum to dissolve blood clots, which costs $1,500 per dose to produce on Earth, can be turned out so much more easily in the zero gravity of space that the cost can be cut to $100 per dose. Far off in the future, some experts say, space's weightless and airless environment will make it possible to perform superior welding, to produce ultra-pure glass for fiber optics and crystals for microelectronics, and to convert solar energy into electricity much more cheaply. But business is not likely to pour big money into any of those ventures until the shuttle itself has proven a success. Dan Kortz, ABC News, New York.
During the 1970s, when this country's space program was sharply reduced, one of the most important influences in keeping the shuttle alive was the U.S. military, which foresaw its potential for launching observation and communications satellites. Military strategists believe the reusable spacecraft will give this nation military superiority in space, especially in respect to the Soviet Union. John McWethy has more.
It's no understatement to say that the Space Shuttle would never have been on the launch pad this morning if it hadn't been for its biggest customer, the U.S. military. Defense planners saw from the earliest planning stages that the shuttle would be enormously useful to the military. And when NASA had problems paying its bills several years ago, the Defense Department quietly stepped in to keep the shuttle program alive. Not surprisingly, the shuttle has been shaped by its most important client. Its 15 by 60-foot cargo bay is bigger than NASA wanted. High maneuverability once in space was not a NASA requirement. The shuttle now has the ability to change its orbit laterally by more than 1,100 miles, giving it the capability to avoid landing at unfriendly airfields in an emergency. The Air Force is building a duplicate launch and landing facility like Cape Canaveral. The military's version will be at Vandenberg Air Force Base in California. From there, the military will be able to launch the shuttle into a polar orbit, which is necessary for spy satellites because the orbit allows complete coverage of the world once a day. A launch from Cape Canaveral gives a space vehicle much more limited orbital characteristics. In addition to Vandenberg, the Air Force is also building its own mission control headquarters. It will be located in Colorado near the NORAD Early Warning Center. In its earliest operational stages for the next 5 to 8 years, the shuttle will be used by the military primarily as a way to get defense satellites into orbit and, if necessary, to bring them back for repair. America is extremely dependent on satellites for early warning, for 75% of its military communications, for pinpoint navigation of ships and planes. But 10, 20, and 30 years out, the shuttle mission will change. It will become the hauler of freight into space, perhaps carrying the pieces of a military command center into orbit. It may also be used to carry weapons of the future into space, weapons already being developed. 7 years ago, the Air Force used the invisible beam of light from a laser to shoot down an unmanned airplane. Now they've mounted a more powerful laser in a converted transport. The Air Force won't say what, if anything, it's shot down, but in its laboratory, tests continue.
Laser coming on. Wind tunnel coming on.
The target, titanium, the tough, lightweight metal used in fighters and missiles. Mounted aboard the shuttle, or in a space station made possible only because of the shuttle, the laser could be used in the vacuum of space to intercept Soviet intercontinental ballistic missiles on their way to targets in the U.S. Spaceborne lasers could, in theory, wipe out the Soviet ICBM threat.
The real use would be as an anti-ballistic missile defense system, so that you could destroy in the boost phase shortly after liftoff submarine-launched or intercontinental ballistic missiles. It also can be used to destroy aircraft flying at high altitudes, such as bombers carrying nuclear warheads toward the United States.
In the name of energy research, scientists in Albuquerque, New Mexico are working on an even more advanced weapon for space, called the particle beam. In this reactor, there are 36 guns, each directing a beam of subatomic particles at a central target. The potential? A weapon far more deadly than the laser. Tom Stafford, former astronaut and until last year, Deputy Chief of Air Force Research.
A laser really is directed, photon energy, and it hits here and it overheats the surface, and finally it will burn through. But a particle beam with mass actually just penetrates through. It can actually blow a hole in it and destroy the inside.
Military planners who must look 20 and 30 years into the future believe that the space shuttle will be carrying weapons like the laser and particle beam into space.
There's sort of a danger of getting intrigued by this exciting technology and not really thinking out the full implications.
The shuttle and its military mission of the future may very well fundamentally change the parameters of conflict here on Earth. Future wars may well be won or lost because of what happens in the silent vacuum of space. John McWethy, ABC News, the Pentagon.
Thank you, Jack. That's a pretty grim prospect. It might be useful to recall that it was only 6 years ago, 1975, that the United States and the Soviet Union were able to cooperate on a joint mission into space, the Apollo-Soyuz mission, when cosmonauts and astronauts met and shook hands in space. And it's also useful to recall that today is an important anniversary. 20 years ago today, Yuri Gagarin, on April 12th, 1961, became the first man in space, the first man to orbit the Earth. He later died in a plane crash in 1968, but he earned a lasting place in the history of space flight, indeed in the history of man. The Russians also led the way, of course, into space with Sputnik, the first satellite, in 1957. Here's a comparison of the manned programs of the United States and the Soviet Union. 31 manned launches as against 39 for the Soviet Union. 71 astronauts have been in space, including the two who are up there now, and 91 cosmonauts, including the two who are in Salyut. The Russians have had 50,000 hours in space, the United States 22,500 hours. The Russians have not landed men on the moon. The United States has several times, of course. The Russians do not have a shuttle, but they're working on a reusable space vehicle. I'd like to talk now to Jules Bergman and to Gene Cernan about these two programs. And what are your thoughts, Gene? Are we in a military race? It seems to me we are.
Well, peaceful competition is pretty interesting. I think that's how we got to the moon, and whether it be a strategic military race or a scientific and technology race, I don't really think it makes that much difference.
GLS 212. No, GLS. Do I have your concurrence to start the mainline activation at 45 minutes? That's affirmative. Could I have a QC on 183, please? Certainly. CMQC? CMQC copies. Okay, this is flight on 212, going back to NSP 2 on my mark. 2, 1, mark it. LTC, PLT, we had the VCE string 1 NSP to the switch. And flight verifies we're on NSP2. Roger. Crew, we switch back. Roger that. And crew, when we get down to 32 minutes, it's about 12 minutes from now, we'll pick up the BSS transfer prep again. Roger that. CNAC, CDPS 212.
Does not allow radio waves to penetrate through it, so therefore there is no communications with them until this heat and this flame dissipates and they come out of that ionization layer. So it's not just losing our tracking station, it's actually a phenomena of the entry into Earth. If you remember back when John Glenn first flew, it was a phenomena. Nobody expected to lose a signal when he re-entered communications with him, but we did for a much shorter period of time because he was coming in much steeper.
Okay, they have approximately 11 more minutes. Thank you, Gene and Jules. About 11 more minutes or so before we regain communications with them, and less than 25 minutes before they touch down here. So there's still some time to go. We'll continue with our coverage of the mission of Columbia, the space shuttle, after this word from our local stations.
Friday at 8, 7 Central and Mountain, The Amazing Animals Special with superstar Brooke Shields. Usually you can take a few days to think over a Carpetland purchase, but not today, because it's Carpetland's 33-hour sale. Choose from any carpet in stock at Carpetland, and we'll install it with pad at one low price. Save on remnants and vinyl flooring, too. That's Carpetland's 33-hour sale. Time is running out. Hurry to Carpetland, East State Street, east of Alpine.
Carpetland USA, Carpetland USA.
I've talked to a lot of my friends who are fallen away Catholics and tried to tell them that the church is different, but they just don't believe me.
I know the Catholic Church is changing because I have seen the change in my community, the involvement of the church in my community.
The Catholic family is changing. I see people not only reaching out to people they know, but to strangers as well.
Charles A. Stevens is spring. College town coordinates in skirts, pants, blazers, and blouses are 20% off, Thursday through Saturday only. Charles A. Stevens, upper level, Cherryvale.
WREX-TV, Rockford, Illinois.
In Houston, Max Robinson.
Well, the spaceship Columbia is now over the Pacific, or at least it should be over the Pacific, as it descends toward Edwards Air Force Base in California. Looking for tracking right now, it is 9 minutes before we will hear from the astronauts John Young and Bob Crippen aboard the Columbia, because they're in that electromagnetic field that prevents communications. So in about 8 minutes and 50 seconds, we'll be hearing from them to find out how that space shuttle is handling. And right now, of course, it is coming down over the Pacific Ocean, or it should be coming down over the Pacific Ocean, headed toward Edwards Air Force Base. Don Putty, flight director who's in charge of bringing this shuttle down on this day, had informed his team a little earlier that they will have 15 minutes, or 15 seconds, I should say, 15 seconds for celebration, and then right back to their jobs, because it's their responsibility to be in control until the astronauts are on the ground, right?
Thank you, Max. Well, you've heard so much about the tiles. They lost one, they damaged some others, and a lot of commotion about them and everything, the questions about their reliability. Right now, this moment, is the time when the tiles have to do their work. They've got to be doing it right now, hanging in there, and not zipping away or falling away. Otherwise, we could have a very unpleasant consequence here. There's no indication, of course, what is happening because we're out of communications. But Ken Kashiwahara has prepared a report for us on just how these tiles were put together and the importance of their function. And here is Ken now. Well, we'll have it.
They are cut and shaped and sprayed and baked and checked and rechecked. And when the tiles are finally installed on the space shuttle, they form a heat shield that prevents the astronauts from burning up. There are more than 30,000 tiles covering 70% of the orbiter's body. When the shuttle re-enters the Earth's atmosphere, temperatures on the orbiter's surface will exceed 2,300 degrees. But because of the tiles, the astronauts should not feel the heat at all.
A great deal of it is re-radiated. That which is not is slowly absorbed by the tile. But it is such a power conductor of heat that the vehicle has landed before this heat has migrated through the tile. And by that time, of course, ground air conditioning equipment and so on is plugged into the vehicle, and it's kept properly cool.
The tiles are made from a lightweight material called silica, which is sprayed and waterproof. The black coating quickly radiates most of the intense heat off the surface. The silica absorbs the rest of it. But for the tiles, the road from the laboratory to the shuttle was far from trouble-free. During initial tests, the tiles couldn't withstand the heat, and the bonding agent used to attach the tiles to the shuttle proved inadequate. Then, when the shuttle was ferried from California to Cape Canaveral, some tiles were damaged. Aerospace workers repaired the damage and changed the bonding agent. Now, officials are convinced the tiles will work. They must. If only one strategically placed tile falls off during the mission, it could mean disaster.
Aerospace officials are always looking to the future, and workers here already are attempting to improve the tiles by making them stronger and less susceptible to damage, and by making them lighter so future shuttles can carry bigger payloads. Ken Kashiwahara, ABC News at the Lockheed Missiles and Space Company in Sunnyvale, California.
Thank you, Ken. Ken Kashiwahara filed that report earlier. He is now situated about 100 miles west of here in a place called Weed Patch, California, which is directly in the flight path of Columbia as it zooms in over California in the mountains and the desert here. And that is where the sonic boom is going to be heard most loudly. Ken, are you all set to hear it?
Frank, we are indeed, and there really is a weed patch, as you can see, and I'm standing right in the center of it. It is a farming community, a tiny community right in the middle of the desert, as you said, about 100 miles or so from where you are. And weed patch is not totally unknown. The people here tell me that John Steinbeck wrote his famous novel, Grapes of Wrath, only about a half block from where I'm standing. Now, the real reason we're here, of course, as you mentioned, is because the orbiter is scheduled to pass almost directly overhead. It will pass just to the south of us, and about 5 miles to the south of us, at about 107,000 feet, traveling at about Mach 4, or 4 times the speed of sound. Now, the orbiter has a plus or minus footprint of 30 miles, which means the sonic boom should be heard on 30 miles on either side of the flight path, and we are almost, as I said, directly under it. We don't know how loud it will be. We should be able to hear it, and of course, when it does come over, we'll be here, and we'll tell you exactly how loud it is. Frank?
All right, thank you, Ken, and we hope to be back there. We have less than 5 minutes now till the reacquisition of signal. As I say, we hope to be back at Weed Patch in time to hear that great big sonic boom. But less than 5 minutes now till the reacquisition of signal. One of the important things is going to be the function of the landing gear, whether they are retracted properly. That won't happen until they are almost down on the deck. John North has prepared a report on how critically important they are. John?
The space shuttle will be approaching its landing without power, but it's going to be coming in faster than any winged plane ever did before. The shuttle comes in from the west. When it's directly overhead, it's still 10 miles high, still faster than the speed of sound. As it continues east, several miles past the lake bed, it starts a large bank. All of this to cut its speed. And cutting its speed is critical because the landing gear can only be dropped when the shuttle's speed is less than 345 miles per hour. The landing gear must be dropped manually from the cockpit. For this, there is no computer control. If the gear doesn't drop after the pilot activates it, there's an automatic backup system that opens the doors with an explosive charge. All of this must be done quickly. The gear is dropped when the shuttle is only 19 seconds from the runway. The shuttle will touch down at more than 200 miles an hour on tires similar to those designed and used on the B-1 bomber. The brakes are conventional design, but they're made of metals that make the brakes lighter and stronger. One of the reasons the dry lake bed was picked is that it gives the shuttle more than 5 miles to brake to a stop. And even if the shuttle strays off the marked runway, the lake bed will support the landing. John North, ABC News, Edwards Air Force Base, California.
We are about 2 minutes and 30 seconds away from the reacquisition of signal from Columbia, astronauts Crippen and Young. When that happens, they will be some 600 miles off the California coast. They'll be this side of Hawaii, heading on in and coming in like a barn burner. Well, we'll continue with our coverage of Space Shuttle Columbia in just a moment.
Sorry, no experience, no job.
But where do I get the experience?
Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines.
We don't ask for experience, we give it. You won't read it in a book, you live it. Pick a service, pick a challenge, set yourself apart.
Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines. What a great place. It's a great place to start.
Expanding an aggressive business involves a factor of risk. To minimize it, you must have a firm grip on where you are and a clear view of where you're going. A Quantel business computer can help. For Quantel monitors your current status like any business computer, but only Quantel has Quick Plan, a financial planning aid that projects possible outcomes, so you don't commit resources unwisely. Quantel business computers, we let you look before you leap.
This is Frank Reynolds at Edwards Air Force Base. We have about a minute to go before the word that we are waiting to hear that they have survived the re-entry and are back down the Earth's atmosphere. Now, that word will come first to Mission Control in Houston. Let's go to Max Robinson.
100 feet per second call.
Frank, we're standing by here. Mission Control standing by for Mach 9.
Stand by.
They are now
Mark.
34 seconds before reacquisition of signal from the Space Shuttle Columbia.
Chase, disregard the Mach 9 call. We'll give it again shortly.
No, you just heard them call that back.
Showing an altitude of
18 seconds before reacquisition of signal.
2 C-band radar contact showing an altitude of 165,000 feet. Range to go 410 nautical miles. Stand by for Mark on 9,700 feet per second. Hello, Houston. Columbia's here. Hello, Columbia. Houston's here.
There it is.
Land clear, and we're doing Mach 10.
There it is.
At 180 AS. And we couldn't agree more, John. Your state vector's good. We've got good data in-house. Okay, it looks to me like the LOD is normal. Thank God for a RCN quantity and APA quantity looking good.
Frankly, I'm not sure what this is.
9,700 feet per second. Columbia, you got perfect
That
energy,
again is the
perfect ground
picture of the shuttle from Anderson Peak.
Columbia now 9 times the speed of sound. Flight dynamics officer. John, we're showing you rolling right. Looking good. Crash, normal roll.
You can see the faint speck in the middle of the dark spot.
Rolling now. Chase will be on time. Okay. Altitude 152,000 feet, range 311 miles, speed Mach 8.8.
At this time, we're using a combination of both aerodynamic surfaces and the reaction control jets to control the nose position.
We show you out of 151K now.
They made it.
8.4 Mach, looking good. Roger that, Dan. I got a solid TACAN lock on TACAN 2 and 3. Roger that, Trip. We're looking. All 3 APUs hanging in there, looking good. Roger that, we can go. We have a live television picture from the optical tracker at Anderson Peak.
Telescopic view
Crossing
of
the coastline now. Show you crossing the coast now. Roger that. We can go. 141,000 feet.
There you
Range
see.
240 miles. TACANs, go ahead and take them. Okay, going in.
And that's a beautiful picture. When the cameras are
Now incorporating tactical air navigation system data into the spacecraft. Mach 7. 135,000 feet, range 221 miles. Columbia. Dead on the ground track. Very quiet to it. Let's go out in here, too. What a way to come to California.
We can assume their reentry through the atmosphere worked like a charm.
Columbia, you're out of 130K now on the tracking, 6.4 Mach, looking good.
It's the best test of the tiles we could have designed.
Some test.
Less than 9 minutes, 30 seconds to
With
touchdown.
back end is perfect. Roger that.
They crossed
624,000 feet.
and they're across the California coastline now, headed toward Bakersfield, where there should be a horrendous sonic boom as Ken Cashwahara
And John,
confirmed.
we're seeing near zero aileron trim. We're seeing 2 tests. Yeah, less than that now. Roger that, out of 119K, 5.5 Mach.
There's still 5.5 times the speed of sound.
Roger, we copy.
And as they come overhead here at Edwards, Gene, the engineers have told me there will be a huge sonic boom because the airplane is so fat.
Well, I'm not sure how much we'll hear from them at this point.
Roger that, out of 112K, 4.8 Mach.
Range 130. John Young rolling, using manual control now.
We see Bill at 21 degrees. Roger that, looking good.
Mach 4.4, 107,000 feet. Range 112.
Almost exactly on the money.
The crew is still using their onboard guidance system, and at 60,000 feet they will begin to use ground guidance system, very much like the airliners uses across the country.
And stick control.
Speed control looks good.
Columbia, we see roll reversal complete. Control looks good. Rope's coming out. And you're starting to get ammonia cooling now. Roger, we can try. And Columbia, you're out of 100K with positive C. Looking good.
Ejection seats can be used now.
Beautiful.
Below 100,000.
But they said now if they had to, they could use the ejection seats.
And air data looks pretty good for here. Roger that. Looking good. We're looking at them. And you're coming right down the chute.
Rudder active now, looking good. Range 73 miles.
Columbia, we're go for air data. You're out of 89K, 2.8 Mach.
There's no need to use any ejection seat as of now, Gene.
There won't be either.
Roger that, we're looking.
Roll reversal to the right.
Columbia, we see you coming right, looking good.
Okay, 2.5.
Seeing the talkback from those landing gear, hydraulic isolation valves. Looking good here. Okay, Chris, they all look good to it. Roger that.
We now have a live television picture from the long-range optics at Dryden Flight
Columbia, you're
Research
coming
Center.
right down the track. The tracking data, nav data, and pre-plan trajectory are all one line on our plot board here. Roger, we can correct.
Out of 70,000 feet at Mach 1.8, range 42 miles.
This is Ken Cashwahara. We just heard the sonic boom as it passed over this area of weed patch. 2 sharp cracks like thunderclaps, and it's now headed toward Edwards Air Force Base.
Columbia, we show you very slightly high in altitude, coming down nicely, and the test is to go to off.
Mach 1.3 at 58,000 feet.
range 33 miles.
Out of 56K, looking good.
Mach 1 at 51,000 feet, range 28 miles.
Columbia, you're going subsonic now, out of 50K, looking good.
Roger that.
About 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock, Larry. To the left of the chase plane. To the left of the chase.
Position.
Everything
We'll
looking
escort
good.
them down. And everything is looking good.
Columbia, you're
There's the
approaching the
boom.
hack now, right on the money.
We just got the boom here.
Roger that.
She is.
Columbia getting ready to start the big sweeping turn into the runway.
Chase has a tally. And Crip, altimeter 3009er.
Roger that. 38,000 feet, range 19 miles.
Columbia, you're coming right around the hack, looking beautiful. Base count aboard 30,000.
Control very smooth.
Columbia, you're really looking good. Right on the money. Right on the money. And we're seeing 1.3 Gs coming around the hack. And turning on the final, your winds on the surface are calm.
25,000 feet.
Now they start that rather sharp descent.
Yes. Mach 0.6, range 13 miles. 22,000 feet. Control looking very smooth. Speed brake at 40. We have a television picture now.
You're right on the glide slope, Columbia.
That's the time to touch
Right
down.
on glide slope. Approaching center line, looking great.
This TV from the chase plane. $16,000 feet. Mach 15. Airspeed 271 knots. Fido says it couldn't be any better. 11,000 feet.
That's real good underneath.
The crowd here on the ground can see it now and is cheering.
9,000.
These pictures are being taken from the chase plane. You see
189.
one of them here. There is the orbiter.
Real good.
See how close the chase plane is going along with it. There not only to take pictures, but to tell them about that landing here.
290.
Now this is an ABC camera that has got this picture. And this one too. Come on in.
feet there.
We can see it now.
Go down. 50 feet. 40, 30, 20, 10, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, touchdown. computer, 10 feet. Five, 4, 3, touchdown. Look about, Skipper.
As you can see, Mission Control, jubilant, but they waited a while.
Welcome home, Columbia. Beautiful, beautiful.
She's still rolling along.
Don't imagine who they will take 15 seconds.
The chase planes just went by, roaring on after
We're going to
escorting
test it
them.
out first.
The Wolf Grid is all electric flying machine, I'll tell you that. It was super.
Okay, convoy's on its way.
We'll stop on the Columbia. We'll stop.
The convoy is on the way now. We can see it moving across the desert. The convoy of vehicles on the ground to make sure that everything is safe for the astronauts to egress
This
and
is
get out.
Control Houston, the unofficial touchdown time.
Thank you.
2 days, 6 hours, 20 minutes, 52 seconds. 2 days, 6 hours, 20 minutes, 52 seconds.
And Columbia, Houston, we're estimating at least 26 more minutes on the ammonia. You're looking real good.
Okay? The open lead is good, or you can ask me to roll it, whatever way. Okay?
And as Columbia's main gear touched the lake bed, the flight director's instructions were prepare for exhilaration.
Well, the tiles obviously worked all right. Helicopters are beginning to swarm down around it now. They're going to be in there for about 40 to 45 minutes before they actually come out. Some of the vehicles that will move up include a white room. Most of the convoy stops some distance away. There is one vehicle that is approaching quite close. That will be the one containing a safety assessment team. They're wearing special suits, and they'll move to about 100 feet of the orbiter.
Roger, we copy that.
They will be checking for any explosive gases left over from the descent.
As a Mission Control Houston, we expect the crew to be able to get out of Columbia in about 45 minutes. That's a phenomenal time for safety and power down.
Well, they certainly did a beautiful job. They had it in their hands all the way. With the assist of the computers, they brought it down to a landing. And I mean, it is parked on the X out here. Gene Cernan, you've flown with John Young. He's a pretty good pilot, isn't he?
Yes, he's a good pilot. I've flown with John both in space, and of course a lot of times in our T-38s. John's an excellent pilot. I think we've seen a pretty good example of his capabilities right here. That's right in the center line of that runway.
You know, they make it look too easy.
Cernan, I don't think even you could have done a better landing.
No, you're right. Perhaps not.
Perhaps not.
All right, the rest of the convoy is beginning to move in there now, close to the orbiter.
They've got to wait just a hair longer, Frank, for the ammonia and some of the hazardous gases to be sure they're drained out.
Until we verify the valves, we'll get right back to you.
Now, the first person to actually go on board the orbiter will be the crew physician, Dr. Craig Fisher. He'll do a very quick check to see that the astronauts are all right, but I think we've had pretty good confirmation of that already.
I don't think there's any doubt about that, Frank.
Frank, can you hear Gene?
Gene, is this the way it feels to splash down in the ocean and know you're home?
Frank, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, it sure does. I tell you, there's nothing like that feeling of being home. Even when those waves are lapping over the top of the windows, you see that carrier, you know you're home. You know nothing else can go wrong at that point in time. And I'm amazed at the shuttle's capability to come through the atmosphere. I expected more charred streaks or burnt streaks across the fuselage, and we just see that little area around the nose. And it obviously was designed and performed explicitly up there, superbly.
Well, it certainly did its job. Let's have another look now while they prepare to bring the crew out. And as we said, that's going to take some, perhaps 40 minutes or so before they're ready to actually bring them out and drive them back across over this way. So let's have another look at the actual landing as we're seeing it.
Frank, can you hear me?
Now, yes, Jules, go ahead. We're running a videotape of the landing.
There's that steep rate of descent, 5 times steeper than a commercial airliner, until he flares it out, levels it out here about 100 feet over the runway. The T-38 chase planes escorting him in. Now he drops the gear at low altitude, and he's set to come in.
Frank, still after that gear is dropped, he was in a very critical phase, because if he pulled his nose up too quickly and got too slow, he could actually fall that last 20 or 30 feet into the runway. It's a very tender and touchy maneuver that we're seeing him make right there, and he did an outstanding job with it.
And what a beautiful shot, too.
Oh, boy.
That's an old pro.
The only thing missing was the tail hook.
Spoken like a Navy man.
Oh. So that's the landing. The mission is a success. Orbiter has launched off the pad at Cape Kennedy. It's gone around the world 36 times, and it's come back, making a landing for the first time in the history of man in a spacecraft, a space plane, a glider, whatever you want to call it, of this kind of configuration. And you see there the people in their special suits. They are called the SCAPE team, the Safety Assessment Team. It's a self-contained atmospheric protection ensemble that they wear to make sure that they are not contaminated. And they are now checking to make sure that everything is all right before they bring up all the rest of the vehicles that will perform their necessary functions. Before the astronaut's physician, Dr. Craig Fisher, can go on board, they'll move a portable white room right up next to the Columbia, and they will come out through that. Well, our coverage of Space Shuttle Columbia, now home, continues in a moment.
Ford calls Escort the world car with better ideas from around the world. Plymouth Horizon's an American car with some pretty good ideas, too. How do they compare? In an independent test, 50 Americans judged. For styling, Horizon 1. For driving ease and riding comfort, Horizon 1. Horizon was rated superior overall to Escort's world car, 43-7. Guess that makes Horizon the world beater. From Plymouth.
Test drive and compare our Horizon to Escort. We're so confident we'll pay you $50, no matter which car you buy.
I've gained so much weight, nothing fits. I'll never lose it for the beach party.
Calm down, Annie. I lost pounds on the Apodrine diet plan. You can, too.
Apodrine?
Maximum Strength Apodrine. Its potent hunger-curbing formula helps you eat less and lose weight. Maximum Strength Apodrine.
How much weight did you lose?
Enough.
Lose weight for your party with Maximum Strength Apodrine.
Thursday, an escapee from the smoking clinic hits the 12.
Ashtrays full of soggy, stinking cigarette butts.
Charming, isn't it? And a con woman takes Louis to court.
$1 million.
But he takes the law into his own hands on Taxi. Then 2020 reveals the scientific facts for those who believe in Christ, those who don't, and those who wonder. Geraldo Rivera's Unprecedented Report will startle you.
Thursday, starting at 9, 8 Central and Mountain on ABC.
Some are born to lead with noble spirit and endless ability, like the Canon A1. The A1 with 5 automatic exposure modes plus manual. To stop action or let it flow. To control depth of field. To add light automatically. To use light dramatically. The Canon A1, born to lead.
Why did gymnast Ginny Barr stop chewing Carefree and start chewing new and improved Chewel sugarless gum?
Chewels taste better.
Why did Chef Guy LaRue stop and start chewing Chewels?
The Chewels, it tastes better.
Why did the Hoboken Halftones stop and start chewing Chewels?
Chewels taste better.
New and improved Chewels is the only sugarless gum with a delicious flavor center. And taste tests prove of leading sugarless gums.
Chewels taste better.
That's what you like to say. Will I get killed?
I was just looking at the orbiter here through binoculars. One of the interesting things when you do that, it looks as though they're standing in water, as though the whole craft is parked there in water. But of course, that's just a mirage. That's a common occurrence out here. They're about 1.5 miles away from us, and you can see there are people moving around there now. Members of the special team to make sure that any noxious fumes or anything might be dispelled. There's a big wind machine that is still some distance away, and it's going to take some time before them to get out. Let's have another look now at the landing, taken from a possibly different angle. Jules and Gene join in here as we see our videotape from one of our ABC news cameras as orbiter came down, Columbia returned home.
There's that fantastically steep angle of drop, Frank, I told you about. More like not even fighter planes do that, Gene.
We could see it about 38,000 feet as it went into its bank and made this final turn on a descent. It looks so massive compared to the T-38 chase planes next to it. In fact, it is.
Of course it is. Look there. It's 5 times their length, or 4.5 times their length.
Okay, Rick, I got a lot of noise in my earphone here. Say again your last. We're just reminding John and
That's a 78-ton glider that just touched down safely. A new record.
Just a reminder.
What we're witnessing here, Frank, as we watch the replay of the landing is really a step into the future. We have now ushered in tremendous potential capability technologically for this country. As a matter of fact, for people all over the world.
It can be done.
It was done. It has been done.
It's real.
Yes, and of course, it must also be said, gentlemen, there are people who wonder, still are skeptical about the long-term scientific, if not military value of the shuttle. The military aspects are, if perhaps not known, at least it's generally believed that they are going to be considerable. We do, obviously, have a reusable spacecraft. Before, we got nothing back except things to put in museums. And we had some very proud people, of whom we all were justly proud, who had executed very dangerous and intricate, difficult missions. But Max Robinson in Mission Control is with a man who was very deeply involved in the design. No? I'm sorry,
But they were unable to get back.
All right, excuse me for just a moment. I made a mistake. Not the first one today.
Okay.
And Steve Shepard talked with the designer of the shuttle, one of those who was certainly instrumental in designing it, Max Faget, and he compares what we get back now to what we used to get back from space.
It's a good compromise.
Max Faget was one of the principal architects of Project Mercury in the early 1960s. Recently, we talked to him about the size differences in the space shuttle compared to earlier manned orbiters.
This, of course, is the first thing we flew with this little Mercury capsule. And, of course, this is what came back to Earth the first time we flew. This is what we plan to bring back to Earth the next time we fly. And as you can see, we could put an awful lot of these little capsules in there. As a matter of fact, we wouldn't have any trouble putting the entire command and service module or the power program inside the orbiter payload bay.
I remember, and I guess most of us do, when Alan Shepard, who later went to the moon, became our first astronaut in space on a non-orbital mission in the 1960s. He went up and he came down, and we were all very impressed. This is the Redstone rocket, which boosted him into space. How does that compare to this cargo?
Well, it will, as you see, it'll almost get in there. It's just a hair longer than the cargo bay.
So the entire rocket, which launched our first astronaut into space, could pretty much fit in the cargo doors of today's space shuttle.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Steve Shepard and Dr. Faget. But Gene Cernan and Jules Bergman, I'd like to talk with you briefly for just a moment about this. Obviously, we've demonstrated that it can go up and eventually that it can carry things. But I think the question remains, you know, do we need more than a truck to
Frank,
go
the
into
tremendous
space?
thing about this is people can argue the cost of the shuttle, its goals, military, hardware, or whatever, but we've witnessed the birth of a new technology right out there, right on our field.
Well, doesn't it all depend, really, on the value of what is carried aloft?
Yes, of course it does.
Not the quantity.
I think as we see the use of the space shuttle frequently over the next several years, the cost of what we have been doing in the past will come down, and is predicted to and will come down without question dramatically. Let me say something else I think the shuttle is probably doing right now and will do in the future, as Apollo did, as Gemini and Mercury did. You've got a lot of young men and women out there who have got their minds on a lot of other things in this world besides the kind of thing they've seen out here. If this motivates 1 out of every 10 of those young people to go to school, to imagine, to think, to dream, to me it's worth it. I don't know how we can put that in terms of dollars and cents. If we think about all the millions and millions of dollars that's spent on things such as dope and hashish in this country, for young people, I'd rather spend money on something like this to motivate their brains and their minds for the future, their future, our future, than on that kind of thing. It's difficult to lay them side by side, but they're realistic facts of life.
Exactly. This,
Thank you, James.
you know,
Thank
this is part of the renaissance of America.
Well, we'll see. You're certainly correct. It's difficult to put a dollar figure or a value on the motivation of the young people of the country who will be the future astronauts or who will be emboldened to undertake adventures of this kind and carry on the pursuit of knowledge, the exploration of the unknown. I guess that's what it's all about. Well, they landed more than 16 and a half minutes ago, and as you see, the convoy, the ground convoy of special vehicles are out there now preparing for the astronauts to come out, and that will happen in about, less than 30 minutes or so now. We'll continue with our coverage after this from our local stations.
Sunday, J.R. Larry Hagman, Don Meredith, and David Bowie on Omnibus.
It's the greatest Hoover sale ever at Prangy Way. You save 10 to 25% on all Hoover cleaners in stock. Save on America's front runner, the Hoover Upright. Save on the powerful Celebrity 4 canister. Prangy Way has one of the best cleaners on the market, the Hoover Convertible. Or take home this popular Hoover canister. Save 20 to 34% on Hoover bags. Don't miss these terrific values on your favorite cleaner during the biggest Hoover sale ever at Prangy Way.
Auntie's coming. What'll it be? Pot roast? Pork chops? Stew? Ooey. Your best idea?
Little Butterballs present
A wee butterball. That's it, Joey.
There are 3 Little Butterball turkeys. Buy today, serve tonight.
Lovely, a small turkey.
It's a wee butterball, Auntie.
Your idea, Joey. 'Twas my idea. Phooey.
Stuffed, breast, or Little Butterball from Swift.
This is Chuck Diamond. Join me at the pub at Tabala Towers for the English Dart Tournament, Wednesday the 15th, starting at 7 p.m. for the first 32 entrants to call 968-0211. You'll be right on target.
WREX-TV, Rockford, Illinois.
Here in Houston at Mission Control, the mood is certainly one of enthusiasm and celebratory. It's businesslike. They're working very hard to safe the orbiter, safing the orbiter, which means to make sure everything is all right, and going through a checklist with the astronauts, Young and Crippen. Crippen, incidentally, referred to the shuttle as the neatest thing in the world.
He's got to be right.
So.
There was an ear-shattering cheer went up here. A lot of people had a lot riding on this, and the in-person sound of these people behind Max and me.
Of course, we're here with Hugh Downs, my colleague. One of the things we noticed earlier, Don Putty, flight director, made it clear to his team that they would have 15 seconds to celebrate, stand in their seats, clap and whatever. And we understand that's exactly what happened. 15 seconds, and then they return to their seats to do the hard job that they have to do.
Yeah, there is a lot to do inside the spacecraft right now. It's not as simple as pulling up and then waiting for your luggage someplace. These guys are going to be inside for a time while the aircraft while they continue to safe it.
among the things, there'll be some cooling down. For an odd reason, the spacecraft, the skin of that craft is hotter after the fiery re-entry, because the tiles tend to dissipate that heat, but they do it by seeping slowly through, and by the time it gets to the metal skin, the skin warms up more as the tiles begin to close down. So it's a little hot to the touch at the moment, and they've got to get out a certain way. And meantime, they can power down and do a little housekeeping chores, I imagine.
You know, Hugh, it's interesting to remember that this space shuttle that made such a marvelous mission today, with 2 days, 6 hours, 20 minutes, and 52 seconds before touching down, had been called the Brick, a lead sled, aluminum Dumbo, spruce goose of outer space, all of those derogatory terms, and I'm sure there are a lot of people taking them back about now.
They sure are. And, you know, one reason is one must be concerned about trouble. There was a tendency to focus on trouble. And since I've been here just these days with you and this group, I've learned a lot of things that were right about it that never got that publicity, because good news tends to be no news. That's a magnificent machine.
Incidentally, President Carter did already, he has sent his, former President Carter sent his congratulations on a mission well done. What else is going on inside the shuttle? 45 minutes seems to be a long time to those of us who are waiting to see the astronauts, of course, about now. They're going through a checklist, making sure the shuttle is safe, and then they will exit.
Apparently that checklist is long, Max. It seems to me like it wouldn't take 45 minutes to get out.
Incidentally, Hugh, the astronauts just sent this message. We're just waiting for someone to let us out.
Yeah, they can't walk out of that. That's got to be, the hatch has got to be opened up. And I imagine there are still things to do on the outside. One of the dangers, apparently, is that there could be some liquid hydrogen left, I'm told. They'd want to be sure that, I imagine that part's been taken care of, that noxious gases that might be released and could be harmful to somebody. You notice the people were in spacesuits who came up, part of the convoy responsible for that.
Gene Cernan is, of course, there at Edwards Air Force Base. Gene, tell us a little bit more about those procedures.
Well, the procedures for egressing, as we used to call it, and still do, or getting a crew out of the spacecraft, are significantly thorough, and they're really built around safety considerations. An extra 5 or 10 or even 30 minutes for the crew to be in a spacecraft is not too much a price to pay to make sure that all the propellants that are used on that spacecraft while it's in space and re-entering are in a safe condition. You have high-pressure gases on some of those propellant tanks.
And you know, Gene, after the accident at Cape Canaveral before launch, which killed the 2 workers, when excessive nitrogen caused hypoxia, and they died of oxygen starvation, everybody's being super careful.
And without any wind out there, a lot of the heat now being dissipated as it sits on the ground, some of the gases and some of the burn particles from the tiles can tend to surround the spacecraft. And if there were a wind, they'd be blown away. So you're seeing men out there in spacesuits, effectively, so they can handle any gases that might be around. When you see them disappear and you see people come up just, you know, dressed without any gas mask or anything else on, then I think you'll see the astronaut truck or van come out, and the backup crew go in, and the prime crew come out. Doctor, of course, will go in first.
There is a small amount of hydrazine fumes near one of the thrusters, Gene and Jules, and they are going to move the wind fan in there to blow the fumes away, to make sure that they get away from the hatch area.
And that stuff is very deadly, Frank.
Well, it's not deadly, it's explosive. Hydrogen is an explosive, and it has to be moved away.
Corrosive. If you get hydrogen on your fingers, it'll burn right through. But the line of the morning, Frank, has to be from our friend John Young about 5 minutes ago, which I think we missed. He, in his own witty style, quiet witty style, said, "We just became infinitely smarter."
Not a bad line at that. Well, we are still quite a ways from the exit of the astronauts from Columbia, and of course we'll be here for that. We have about 25 minutes to wait before they are able to come out. The doctor will go in and check them. And we'll continue with our coverage of the mission of Columbia after this from our local stations.
Johnny, you know more Europeans vacation in Spain than anywhere else?
Really?
They go to see the Alhambra or Granada and all the great art.
That's nice.
They love Spanish food. I am hungry.
Me too.
Johnny, there is more than castles in Spain.
I know.
And good sports, too. It's all right. Lower prices on food, fast and fine hotels.
Come to Spain. A lot more vacation for a lot less money.
You like?
I like.
Okay, it's all right.
A natural break, a Nature Valley break.
After sliding down a mountain,
We're ready for a break.
Nature Valley granola bars, a natural break.
100% natural. No additives, no preservatives in this tasty, crunchy snack.
We're all for it. There's oats and honey, cinnamon, coconut, peanut.
And almonds.
Take a natural break, a Nature Valley break.
Now it's your turn.
Nature Valley granola bars.
America has become overly dependent on foreign oil. Suppose that foreign oil was cut back. To help control our energy future, we need to find and develop more oil, gas, other energy sources here in America. And we need to use less. If you'd like more information, it's available in the Energy Independence book, free from Shell. Shell believes there is an answer to our energy problems. It's to find more and use less.
There's Dan and Ellen Fields. He's editor of our local newspaper. He looks worried about his problem dandruff. I wish he'd ask me.
Mr. Owen, what shampoo should Dan use for his problem dandruff?
Ellen, how about Tegrin?
It works on itching and flaking?
In a national survey, 3 out of 4 dermatologists judge Tegrin's medication effective in fighting even problem dandruff.
Let's try it out.
How's Dan's problem dandruff?
Tegrin's terrific news, Mr. Owens.
Prove it to yourself. Tegrin works.
On All My Children.
Well, hail Columbia. The space shuttle has been on the ground here at Edwards Air Force Base after a flawless descent from orbit down through the Earth's atmosphere. The tiles worked. They stayed on, at least enough to bring them home. I suppose we'll get a more detailed check later on. And right now, they have been on the ground for about 28 minutes, and we still have some time to go. It's approximately 40, 45 minutes from the time they touch down until they're able to get out. As you can see out there behind me now, there's quite a bit of work going on around the orbiter, around Columbia. There's a convoy of vehicles that are specially equipped to make sure that it is safe for the astronauts to get out, also to examine whatever defects there might be in the space shuttle itself. But primarily, they are there to, this is a view, we had a view a moment ago from a helicopter, but this is primarily a process whereby they secure, if you will, the orbiter in order to make sure that the astronauts are all right to come out. The doctor, so far as I know, Craig Fisher, has not yet gone in.
The problem which has plagued us in this launch attempt has...
First flight of the ground crew operations, and I can't help but believe they're being a little bit sensitive and going just a little bit slower than they normally might otherwise. And I think as we see future shuttle flights evolve, we'll see the ground crew obviously become more confident. John and Bob are ready to get out, as they said. They're I think the crew is always ready to get out before the spacecraft is ready to let them out. In this particular case, they had asked the ground how much APU, or auxiliary power unit, propellant they had used. The reason they're interested in that, a pilot is always very proud of how much fuel he uses in controlling his aircraft. The more sensitive control, the more precise control, the less fuel he will use, whether it's rocket fuel or whether it's this kind of fuel to drive the ailerons for the aerodynamic surfaces. And they gave him numbers between 52 and 68% remaining, and John said, whoopee, which means that they feel they did a very good job in controlling the spacecraft.
Mission Control also told them that the lift over drag, also critical, was better than advertised, which
Did we see a spraying operation there a moment ago? I can't see it on my monitor here. The sun is just too bright, really. From your vantage point, what precisely are they doing right at the moment there?
Convoy team members now getting...
Yeah. These are the SCAPE personnel.
They're spraying them down with clean water just to get any collected fluids from the engines off them.
Now, the orbiter is going to be towed back over here to a hangar where the 747 will eventually, perhaps in 6 or 7 days, provided they complete all the checks here, be piggyback carried back to Kennedy Air Force, to the Kennedy Space Center in Florida, from where they left a couple of days ago. And that, of course, is the whole idea, that this is a reusable spacecraft. I understand they might stop in Houston. They have to make a refueling stop anyway along the line. Houston would probably be a pretty good place to stop, let folks come out and have a look at it. The astronauts later today, by the way, will also go to Houston. President Reagan is sending Jim Baker, the Chief of Staff of the White House, who is from Houston, and will be very happy not only to go home, but to see the latest American heroes. When they do finally come out, they're going to have a physical examination. They'll see their families, and they'll make a brief appearance over here in the VIP area, I'm told. And then they will head for Houston. And there won't be a formal press conference where people will be able to ask them questions for about another week or so. But there will be time enough to ask and get answers to specific questions. The main one has already been answered here this morning, here in this California desert, when they came down right where they were supposed to come down and landed where X marks the spot. But I must say, despite all those calm, confident tones emanating from both the spacecraft and mission control, it was a moment. And there was some anxiety, understandably, when we were out of communications for about 20 minutes. I guess that was the most exciting part, waiting to make sure that they were going to respond. It always seems to be that way in space travel and the re-entry. They've been on the ground for quite some time now, but we still have to wait for, I don't believe the doctor has gone aboard yet, because they're not going to open that hatch until they make sure that all the potentially noxious fumes have been dispersed by the wind machine.
The crew is actually flying or controlling the spacecraft, but let me tell you, they are a captive audience. They are there to stay for the duration of that fireball and that entry interface. And when they came out, John sounded jubilant, and he sounded, of course, very professional. His first comments were something to the effect that everything went perfectly as advertised. And again, I think that's a tribute to the amount of training and time and confidence that they've had in what they've been doing.
No question about it, Gene. This isn't the sort of thing you do without exhaustive training, and I think a great many people were struck by the fact that the day after the mission was scrubbed in Florida the other day, they were right back on their pre-launch routine, out flying the Gulf Streams to practice emergency landing procedures. Is there a tile missing there, Gene? Can you see on the nose?
There's a dark spot that's circled on the screen right now, and it looks like it may very well be a tile. It's very difficult to tell from here at this point.
It looks most like it might be a popped tile, Gene. A tile that popped up from the adhesive fastening to the felt that holds it to the aluminum.
Here
skin.
again, I would not be surprised to see a few tiles missing without any significant problems caused by those missing tiles. Obviously, the ones that were missing on the tail or the boat tail that we saw earlier that were lost during launch caused no problems at all.
That may have been a white tile, too, not black, which would not be a critical one. I think it does show that even if one or two does come off, that the dreaded zipper effect did not take place. There had been that concern, at least expressed by some, that if one came off, why the rest would just, follow along. But obviously that didn't happen.
You know, some people might wonder why there's over 30,000 separate tiles rather than just a sheet of tile, but in fact, the spacecraft temperature differences are so tremendous that the aluminum skin underneath contracts and expands perhaps several times throughout the space flight, from launch right on through reentry. And if there were one sheet of tile, that tile would tend to, or have to expand with the aluminum, and it doesn't, so it would tend to crack. Therefore, you have blocks of tiles.
And no two tiles are the same thickness, Gene. They're computer-coded and created. They're aerodynamically a part of the aircraft skin. And if they were all the same thickness, the vehicle would weigh much, much more than it does now and be far more cumbersome.
Okay, Jules and Gene, thank you. Yes, go ahead, Gene. You had something else to add?
Where you were, when we saw the big bird come in, it's been called many things, as you said, but as it came in, you could almost hear a roar of engines that didn't exist. You could almost feel the airplane come through the final phases of the atmosphere just before landing, and I've got to tell you, it was pretty from here. I hope it was beautiful from where you were.
Oh, it certainly was. We caught sight of it just as it came in down low over the horizon. We're replaying it for you here now. And what a sight. And it looked just so steady, you know, so steady as a rock as it came in there.
Well, it was almost poetic in a sense. It was just like a big eagle spread out there, just gliding with ease and confidence to its final touchdown point.
What a moment.
I don't believe the nose or the tail or anything wavered a moment. It was like it was on a string or a track someone built out here in a desert for it to land on.
Well, 3 cheers for the tiles. And even the computers were speaking to one another today, so everything went well. We'll continue with our coverage of the mission of Columbia after this message and a word from our local stations.
Hey, Bill, does your mouthwash fight bad breath in the morning as long as Listerine?
Just as long. Almost as long. Long enough?
Listerine Strong works hours longer than your number 2 mouthwash.
And Listerine Antiseptic kills the germs that can cause bad breath. Today's a good morning.
Listerine. Is there any nicer way to say good morning?
When you want someone to think you're tops, try a bunch of Tootsie Pops. Give your Tootsie a Tootsie. If a happy family is your goal, surprise them with a Tootsie Roll. Give your Tootsie a Tootsie. If you want to get someone's attention every time you stop, we've got the greatest invention. It's called a Tootsie Pop Drop. When you want to brighten someone's day, Tootsie's got a lot of ways. Give your Tootsie a Tootsie. Give your Tootsie a Tootsie.
Tuesday, when a killer stalks a pleasure cruise, will the hearts fall prey as his next victims?
Replace your old, drafty windows with the finest custom-built window made. Vinyl Guard vinyl replacement windows. These solid vinyl windows can save you up to 35% or more on energy costs, and they're maintenance-free. Improve on wood windows. No warp, swell, rot, or putty ever. Improve on aluminum and steel windows. Vinyl will not conduct cold, corrode, rust, bind, or shrink. Vinyl Guard replacement windows install in minutes in your present opening with no mess. No storms or screens are needed, and Vinyl Guard replacement windows cost no more than ordinary windows. And their exclusive side removal and loading system lets you easily snap them out for cleaning. During April, you get a 10% discount plus free professional installation on 5 or more windows. Vinyl Guard vinyl replacement windows qualify you for a federal energy tax credit, and they're guaranteed for 20 years. For a free in-home demonstration and free estimate without obligation, call your area Vinyl Guard dealer today.
What's your lucky number?
150.
Got a hunch?
430.
Got a hunch? Play the daily game.
WREX-TV, Rockford, Illinois.
ABC News live coverage of the first flight of Space Shuttle Columbia continues at Edwards Air Force Base. Frank Reynolds.
At 1:20 Eastern Time this afternoon and 52 seconds, 10:20. 52 here on the west coast of the United States of America, and the first shuttle mission is a complete success. The Columbia is on this dry desert lake bed out here, and it has been there for some time now. We haven't received a precise word on when the astronauts are going to come out, but let's see, they've been down there for about 40 minutes, a little more than 40 minutes, so they should be coming out fairly soon if all the procedures are being followed, and Everything is working well. There was a slight problem they mentioned a few minutes ago about some fumes, hydrazine fumes, around one of the thrusters at the aft end of the shuttle, and they moved the wind machine in to disperse all those fumes before they bring the astronauts out. The crowd here, all around the place, those on the base and out along the desert and everywhere, was estimated to be around 200,000 to 250,000. I don't know how people can count with any precision those numbers. It's a little different here than it is in Florida, where you can see traffic jams. But it's not correct to say that this is the middle of nowhere. This is a flyer's paradise out here, but that's precisely why it is in such a remote area. Here in the Mojave Desert, but it must be the most beautiful sight that Crippen and Young, or the most welcome sight, I should say, that Crippen and Young have seen since they blasted off from the pad at the Kennedy Space Center a couple of days ago. Jules and Jane, they should be coming out pretty soon. Can you see from where you are, have they moved the, I don't think they've moved the van, or the portable white room up there yet, have they? And until they do that, why the doctor, Craig Fisher, can't go in?
It doesn't look like it has been moved, Frank.
We're a little far away to see because of the heat waves coming off the desert. It almost looks like they're in the middle of an ocean, and it's difficult other than a monitor, but I don't believe it's been there yet.
Well, it won't take too long.
You talk about a beautiful sight that they saw. You know, here again I speak of the aviator, and that's what these two gentlemen are. It's nice to land heads up and feet down for a change rather than land on your back like we've done in the past. And we have evolved, really evolved into a new era, professionally, if you will, for the people that are in this program.
Frank, Mission Control did mention a moment ago they apparently had a cracked tile over the hatch, the crew hatch, through which the doctor has to go in, the white room has to be lined up with. So they wanted to have a better feel on any toxic gases in that area. And of course, as you can, I don't know whether you're outdoors or not, but there's a lot of breath.
Outdoors. Nobody's inside.
You're getting burned as badly as we are then.
Oh, yes. Well, that's a byproduct that I think we're all willing to take today. You know, John Young and Bob Crippen have now completed their mission, but it is a trailblazing mission, isn't it? It's the first, and it's going to be important if great benefits really follow. Some time ago, we asked John Young about the benefits, really, to all of us from shuttle operations.
I think it's a wonderful thing that we're doing here. Routine access to space is really important to developing science and technology in space, and to develop the kinds of things that we hope will lead to a whole new era, such as you speak of, colonization in space. With this vehicle, which has a tremendous capability, which we need terribly to have in the United States, it is right now, the vehicle is about, in my way of thinking, about 10 years ahead of what any other country in the world can do as far as I know right now. And it will enable us to do in space in the next 5 or 10 years what it take us 20 or to 30 years to do without this vehicle. And the country really needs it bad, both from a standpoint of developing high technology and discovering new things in science and science in space, for example, with a space telescope, and from a defensive standpoint. The country needs this vehicle very badly. It's going to provide a tremendous capability, and it certainly has it. And Bob and I are really looking forward to getting it operational as soon as practical. We think that one of these days the United States ought to have a permanently orbiting manned space station up there. And with this vehicle, we'll be able to do it for 1/10 of the cost it costs to do it without it. And I guess the Russians think they ought to do it too, because they're doing it.
That was John Young talking about the future benefits of spaceflight and making note of the fact that the Russians are working on a reusable spacecraft. And you see here members of the escape team still in their specially designed suits. These are people who go in to make sure that any noxious fumes or any other danger that might be lingering around the spacecraft after its return from entry are dispelled, and it is safe for them to make their egress. Most of the vehicles have not yet really moved up very close to the But I see some of them now beginning to move up, and I think that's the White Room, yes. Can we see that out there now? Let's have another look at it, gentlemen, just before we go to Houston. The White Room is moving up now. That's the portable White Room. And it is through that the doctor, of course, will go in first, and then the astronauts will come out, and we'll be able to see them when they come out there. I believe they're having a little conversation. Let's listen.
Well, a picture as they come up. Very good. Well, you might have known it is a photographer.
I'm sorry, I don't want to override anything that is being said here. I'm bound to note that the communications here on the ground seem to be a little bit more muddy than they were in space.
They're just doing a little battering back and forth. I think there's a photographer and a doctor as well as a backup crew or a backup crew in the White Room.
Mission control, the White Room being moved into place around the hatch.
Crippen said,
picture from the chopper.
When they told him the White Room was being moved up, Crippen said, well, all right.
When the hatch is open, Dr. Craig Fisher from the Johnson Space Center.
This medical examination will not take very long. Doctor will merely check them out very quickly.
We'll take a quick look at the crew and then bring them out.
Frank, I think what we'll actually do is shake their hand and congratulate them and sort of fill in the square, and they'll be on out.
Tell them to take a couple of aspirin and call them in the morning if there's anything wrong.
That's right. Tell me if you don't feel well tomorrow. They'll get a good physical when they get back to Houston, but there certainly won't be anything other than just
all right, is that the doctor going in there now?
Yes, it is. This will be one of history's swiftest medical examinations.
It doesn't sound to me like they need one anyway.
As you can hear, they function flawlessly, and they're in good spirits, high spirits, to say the least. Young said about 3 minutes ago, you can't believe what kind of flying machine this is. It's really something special. And from a veteran, tough test pilot like John Young, that's one hell of a tribute.
Columbia. She sure came through, didn't she?
Well, she came through with a lot of help, Gene. A lot of help. We've got to pay tribute to the design, the engineering, and everything, but there are the people who deserve a great deal of credit, and a great many more who can't even be seen today all over the country.
Frank, I've always said, and I did after Apollo 17, we stood on the shoulders of giants to reach the moon, some 220 million of them, and I think that's very applicable to Shuttle today.
What's moving in there now? Something else?
Well, I think that's a White Room repositioning. I believe they probably didn't have it centered on a hatch exactly properly. Columbia City.
I'm sorry, Gene. Actually, they didn't position the White Room right, huh?
No,
maybe the truck driver's not as good a pilot as John Young.
Well, John Young landed just about 2 feet too far, I guess.
Well, I hope he doesn't get any demerits for that.
They had a couple white lines on a runway for the White Room, and John missed them by about 1.5 feet.
Oh, we've got a crowd going on board there now.
Well, he's got two astronauts, two members of a support crew going back, I think, Gordon Fullerton and Carol Bobko, and both of them, I think you'll see fly Shuttle in its operational test phase very quickly in the near future, are going aboard the spacecraft to complete the power down of the entire vehicle.
When is the next flight really scheduled? I mean, is there such a thing as a firm schedule, fixed?
Negative.
I think it really depended upon the success of this one. I would like to think we could turn around in the next 4 to 5 months, but that's really up to NASA.
But eventually, of course, it's supposed to be 40 to 50 flights a year. Huh?
That's a little optimistic, I believe.
Think so.
Yeah, I would not hold my breath waiting for that, Frank.
Convoy Commander reports that hatch operations are beginning now. Tow bar also being attached to Columbia's nose wheel.
Tow bar.
USS Columbia will be towed to off the runway to an area at the Dryden Flight Research Center.
All right, well, we're waiting now for the astronauts to actually come out of the Columbia. Let's go back to Mission Control in Houston and Max Robinson. Max?
Frank, at 6:31 Eastern Standard Time this evening, the astronauts and their families will arrive here in Houston at Ellington Air Force Base for a 10-minute welcoming ceremony. They'll be welcomed by James Baker, President Reagan's Chief of Staff, Congressman Ron Paul, Houston's Mayor Jim McCone, Dr. Alan Lovelace, who's acting administrator of NASA, Chris Kraft, director of NASA, and the three flight directors who ran this mission, Neil Hutchinson, Don Puddy, and Chuck Lewis, will be there. Now, after that welcoming ceremony, the astronauts and their families will be escorted home, we're told here at Mission Control. There is no long isolation period, Hugh. That used to be the case with all of the previous astronauts.
When they first went to the moon, they weren't sure whether some kind of contamination might make them dangerous to be with other humans, but that was quickly determined that that's not the case.
Right. There will be a period of debriefing with various engineers responsible for each system on the shuttle, and of course, as Frank had mentioned, the astronauts we expect will hold a news conference in about a week.
They're going to wait that long?
I'm sure they can take their time.
Might as well. They deserve the rest.
The debriefing period, I'm sure, will be important in determining how long it will be before they hold a news conference.
Well, now is when they go to work. The debriefing period gets very extensive and very involved. They have to write pilot reports, and now they go back to being a professional pilot engineer, not just the flight type pilot. It's going to take probably a full week, I would imagine, to fully debrief all the controllers, all the industry people who were involved, and then, of course, write their own technical report.
I'd like to know what the pulse rate was at various points during the descent.
You talking about ours out here, Frank?
Well, I know mine was going too fast.
About 384.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I bet because the reentry itself was so slow, the time that they were coming through the atmosphere was over such a long period of time. I would have rather imagined it stayed well below 100.
Yes, I would think so too, Gene. You know, gentlemen, I can't help but have the feeling here that that the country labored for 8 or 9 years, missed much criticism about overruns and problems and technical failures, and somehow today, here, and Sunday at Canaveral, we have seen the birth of a brand new technology. And for once, we did it first. The Russians weren't there.
I think they're trying to get one of the choppers to move away.
Again, the helicopter on the right side of the orbiter. We prefer that it be moved to a greater distance or to secure operations.
You just heard them tell them to get the chopper out of the way.
Okay, let us know.
Yeah, he was down so low, the helicopter, that kicking up a lot of dust, which they don't really need. Doesn't take very much to do that. You can raise a cloud of dust just by driving a golf cart across this desert. It is pretty dry. Just a few weeks ago, they were talking about maybe it would be there'd be some rain and might, you know, it would be wet.
Who's going to put that plaque up there? Who's going to climb up the ladder? Or anybody?
One of the flight controllers.
Yeah, the helicopter's moved out of the way now. Well, they should be about ready. They've been down for what? 55 minutes. It's taking a little longer than planned to get out.
Being close to an hour, they have been ready themselves. The crew has to come out for quite some time. There's been a lot of chattering and bantering and talking back to Mission Control, and I think Bob Crippen said he was going to have a spot of tea. He probably was a little thirsty and made a little iced tea while he was in there.
Is there a traditional post-landing meal, Gene?
No.
As well as the steak and eggs that everybody has before they take off?
Well, no, but I tended to find a bottle of champagne floating around somewhere that I latched onto after my flights. But no, there really isn't. There's no tradition to the landing other than that there will be splashdown parties. I guess we have to rename the party. It's no longer a splashdown party.
Touchdown party. Touchdown back into position near the ladder now. Dr. Fisher should be aboard that fan.
Well, come on, fellas, let's come out.
I feel like you do, Frank, and certainly like they do. I think you'll see them bouncing down those stairs, and I think you might see a salute or two out of these young men getting out of that spacecraft. Columbia looks alive, even as it sits there right now. It looks like it's got spirit and life to it. It's not something that's dead and over with. I can feel something vibrant just looking at it.
It isn't like your Apollo 17 capsule was, Gene.
Well, it's still a little enduring.
In a museum.
How many missions could this particular machine fly? What do they anticipate at the outside?
The number is high. I think it was designed, Jules, if I'm not...
Supposed to fly 50.
50 or 60 missions.
Originally it was 100, Frank.
Yes, sir, we are, and we're eagerly anticipating your departure. Well, we're still here, you know, and if we're going to get this thing operational, this is one of the parts we're going to have to work on a little more.
I think John shares the rest of our feelings.
You know what I mean?
He said if we're going to get this thing up...
I'm pushing as hard as I can.
If we're going to get this thing up... If we're going to get this thing operational, we got to get the crew out of here quicker after landing.
This conversation is getting dangerous. John doesn't think the passengers are going to wait this long to deplane. Do you realize we could have gone the whole orbit? They're doing pretty good, though. They're doing pretty good.
Well, those 2 days we waited in Florida sure to be well worth it, Jules.
Yep, sure did.
Yes, it was nice to know that the computers remained on speaking terms.
Flight reports that he doubts that you'll have to wait for your luggage when you get off. Hey, he's probably right. That takes a long part. Well, there's no telling where that luggage is. Started out in the Cape, and they said they were going to bring it here, but you know how that goes. I bet Nygren is out there with our luggage right at this very moment. Would you verify that you have your stubs or your bags on your body? I knew I forgot something.
Frank, are you here to talk about the luggage?
Yes, but not very clearly. What did they say?
Well, flight control, mission control said, well, I don't expect you'll have to wait very long for your luggage on this flight.
Well, we can assure you that the folks there are doing their best to expedite this, John, and we can see them working in the White Room now. All right, we know that. We know that. We just like to push every now and then.
Who is that we hear from Mission Control, Gene? It's not Joe Allen.
No, it's not Joe Allen at Capcom. I don't know.
I couldn't.
No danger on this mission of having the luggage shipped on to Chicago or anything?
Well, Frank, if it gets lost on this mission, it'll really get lost. There's enough room to carry a lot of luggage, though. You know, some of these lady astronauts should feel right at home if they're like the rest of the wives who travel with their husbands and the amount of luggage they carry.
Now, Gene, we call it a sexist remark, I think. I know a lot of males, correspondents, and astronauts who carry a lot of luggage, too.
They should be about opening that hatch. I know a lot of people are trying awful hard to do the job right at this point in time, and we certainly don't want to make any mistakes.
Convoy commander reports they'll be ready to open the hatch shortly. And they're ready to open the hatch shortly. When they're saying depresses, well, a little Valsalva will take care of that trip. Roger that.
Well, Frank, as in everything else in the space program, it's done by checklists and procedures, and even something that sounds as simple as opening a hatch of the spacecraft, they have got a procedure that they go by to make sure, again, that nothing is overlooked.
The hatch is coming open now. In Columbia, Houston, we have word that the hatch is opening, and it's been great talking to you. Same here, Rick. One fantastic mission. We'll hope to see you guys either tonight when we get back or tomorrow, anyhow. Okay, John and Crip. Good show.
They've been on the ground 1 hour, and they're about to get out.
And Rick, I'll be staying on comm here till we get one of the other guys on. We copy.
Well, it's too bad they can't have bands playing and so forth when they make their first appearance. But, of course, that's possible only when you come down at sea and you can land in grand style, as you did, Gene, on the deck of a carrier.
Well, that was exciting, but I think this will be equally exciting and certainly rewarding to them. You know, the period of time they've been in a spacecraft, although it has been long and they're anxious to get out, does allow you to get somewhat adjusted to the Earth gravity again, because soon after landing in Apollo, your legs were perhaps a little shaky because you came down so quickly in those parachutes, and then all of a sudden you were in full Earth gravity. However, in the shuttle, they go over that more gradually as they re-enter. It takes a longer period of time. In fact, I would rather guess...
It's open.
But firmly
Seals are being
protested.
purged, and be a little while before they're given go for the exchange crew and the doctor to go aboard.
That's not... That's the ground personnel right there. Here he comes. There's John. A happy young man.
Yes, indeed. I've got the binoculars on him, and he does look like a happy young 50-year-old man.
You
Why
betcha.
shouldn't he be?
And after this flight, he's even younger. Well, you can see the detriments of spaceflight. He's doing pretty well, isn't he?
Yes, indeed. You can hear some applause in the background. That's from Mission Control, and we can even hear some applause way back over here at the on the edge of the desert.
Well, he forgot his co-pilot in there somewhere.
That's the convoy crew.
I think that bald-headed gentleman standing there in the blue suit might have been Tom Stafford. Tom was commander of this base after he left the space program, and that's Gordon Fullerton. I'm sorry. That's Gordon Fullerton,
who looks a good deal like Stafford.
Who will be fine with the shuttle flights in the near future, I believe.
Stafford was commander of the base when the test flights were conducted out here.
When the drop test, that's correct.
And then went on to become Chief of Research and Development for the Air Force, and retired just last year with the rank of Lieutenant General.
You know who one of the great men of aviation is, and he's not very far away from me here. He's down here doing work for National Public Radio as Colonel Chuck Yeager, now General Chuck Yeager, the man who first broke the speed of sound. Where's Crippen?
John wants to make sure that the whole bird is still there. Well, I tell you, Colonel Yeager and his efforts contributed a tremendous amount to what we've seen here today, and I've got to believe that he's got feeling a little melancholy at this point in time.
What we're seeing, Gene, is the euphoria.
Yeah, where's Crippen?
Euphoria on Young after 7 years of preparing for this flight.
John wants to look at his airplane, by golly.
And verify that the whole machine is there, which it most assuredly is.
What happened to the tradition, Gene, that the commander is the last one off?
Well, the tradition, the commander is, well, I don't know, they broke a little bit. On the moon, of course, the commander was the first one out and the last one back in.
Does Crippen have more to do, really? Switches to throw and flims to flam and so forth?
You know, I think he's off the air right now, and I think John's probably asking the same question. Where's my buddy that I've been with for 2 days? John is just on cloud 9. He isn't even walking on this desert. He's about 2 feet off the ground right now. That's George Abbey, the director of flight crew operations, standing next to him. You know, you're seeing John Young talk more now than he probably talked for the last 2 days.
Well, he's the most experienced American in space now, isn't he?
He is. He surely is. He's flown almost one of everything and 2 of most. Twice in Gemini. He flew twice in Apollo. We flew together on Apollo 10. He's flown the Shuttle. He's walked on the moon. I'm not sure what there is left for John to do.
Well, you know, he probably has... He's going back to take off again.
Now he's going back on to drag Crippen out.
This is almost like a Sunday morning comic strip.
Flight Director Don Cuddy has just informed his team that we have to the team at Dryden, and this flight control team can go back into exhilaration mode.
There's been a lot of comments about astronauts being programmed to react in certain ways. Believe me, each and every one I've ever known is an individual. And you're seeing John react like a very happy human being who has just done something that he felt is very accomplishing and very rewarding.
He's got a lot to say.
I've never seen John so quite so outwardly expressive.
Never, never. I wish I could hear what he was saying. I could predict some of the things he's saying, but I wish I could hear him personally. Right now, he's going to say, "Get my co-pilot out of there."
Oh, I wonder why he isn't out.
I'd predict they're working up some elaborate gag.
No, I don't believe
Gag?
so. I don't believe so. No, sir, not at this point.
I don't think I'd want to test anybody's sense of humor after coming down through an experience like this. These are
Here he comes.
Here comes the co-pilot.
You're going to see another big, broad smile. And another healthy spaceman.
He's out 1 hour and 8 minutes after landing. Oh, that's nice to see them both on the ground. Another big cheer from Mission Control in Houston.
Well, I sit here very proud of those two guys, Frank. A little envious, certainly, but very proud.
They're going to get right into the astronaut van now.
I believe they're going to say a word or two in front of the audience out there just before they depart here.
Oh, you mean they're going to bring them over to the?
I had heard word that they were going to say just a brief word, perhaps in front of the crowd, the VIP area, before they press on.
OTC, CDR, the PLT, C to safe. I'm working on the CDRs now.
The astronaut van has been launched. It's moving. Before John Young left on this mission, he had some thoughts about it. And as you see him being carried across the desert here, let's listen to what he had to say before he left. Here, there's a shot.
Oh, happy day. I have a surprise for those of you who are here. I'm Mike Dillon, Director of Drive and Flight Research Center, and I have the honor of being at the ceremony. I come up here with one intent, to dazzle you with my brevity. At this point, I'd like to introduce General Robert T. Marsh, Commander of Air Force Systems, and personal representative of the Secretary of the Air Force, who will say a few words. General Marsh.
Chris, welcome back to this historic landing site here at Edwards Air Force Base. You know, it really is great to have the first pilot landing from space because it carries out the long
Anybody hearing this, fellow?
the historic first of Edwards. All the way back to 1942, we had the first high-powered landing here at Edwards. 1947, Chuck Yeager, as everybody knows, broke through the sound barrier. In the 60s, Neil Armstrong, Joe Walker set records with the X-15, and in 1967, Keith Knight was here, beat records for the X-15, and in the 1970s, we did the X-24B demonstrations and technology efforts that led eventually to this kind of a landing. So you've really capped off the great tradition and history of Edwards Air Force Base. And let me just say that the men and women of the Air Force, the Navy, and the Army have really felt great pride and privilege to support your effort throughout the world. And in fact, many of them who have deployed all over the world in support of this current operation are very happy indeed that they didn't have to exercise their support in any more strident way. Congratulations. We're glad to have you back. Hail Columbia.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to present to you our boss in NASA, the acting administrator of NASA, Dr. Alan Lovelace.
Thank you, Ike. Ladies and gentlemen, I think this epic flight of Columbia proves once again that the United States is number one. Number one. I think it's a proud day for America, for NASA, and for all of the thousands of people that made this mission possible. I think John and Crip have opened a gateway to opportunity that I hope the United States shows the resolve and determination to seize that opportunity. President Reagan wished that he could be here today. He has sent his personal representative to be with us on this occasion, and I would like to introduce the Honorable Vern Orr, Secretary of the Air Force. I would also like to ask John and Crip to join us here at the podium.
They want you together. They want you together.
Right, okay.
How about that? Astronauts, Young and Crippen, distinguished guests, America is a nation of families. And this is a family separation. I'd like to ask the wives to come and join us. Please, we're honored. On behalf of the President of the United States, it's my honor to welcome you back safely. The President, Mrs. Reagan, and an entire world breathed a sigh of relief when you touched down a few thousand yards out there. I have heard pilots talk about hot landings or bringing them in smoking, but you set a new definition for those terms. 60 years ago, two pilots, Navy, it hurts me to mention, flew nonstop from the East Coast and landed in California and opened a new era in transcontinental travel. We may look back in 60 years to this date and recognize that you opened a new era in space travel. I would have to state that they considerably bettered your time, but you took a circuitous route. The President has asked me not only to offer congratulations to you, but to the entire NASA team and to the thousands in our industrial base who made this possible. We are back in space after several years and proud of it. We have proved that the United States can undertake a complex scientific mission and carry it through to success. For President Reagan, well done. Thank you.
John?
It's, this is Susie. Best thing that ever happened to me. It was a really tremendous mission from start to finish. Crippen is one of the hardest workers I know, and he carried me through that whole thing. I think we've got a fantastic and remarkable capability here. We're really not too far, the human race isn't, from going to the stars. And Bob and I are mighty proud to have been a part of that evolution. Thank you.
John is our speech maker. This is my wife, Jenny. As the rookie of the group, I can say that waiting 12 years to get my flight in space was well worth it. And I'll go stand in line for another 12 years if that's what it'll take, but I don't think it will. I think we're back in the space business to stay, and I think myself and all of my compatriots are going to get many more opportunities to fly. And I think that, as has been said here, we are really in the space business to stay. Thank you.
I just might take this moment to express to John and to Chris and I hope I'm speaking for all the NASA employees, I believe I am, and the NASA contractors. It's been a special pleasure for us to have been associated with two super guys like you and Crip, John. At the moment, we have the governor of the state of California, Governor Brown, who would like to make a special presentation. Governor Brown?
On behalf of all the people of California, I wish to express our pride at being the host for this landing of the first shuttle flight. And on behalf of the citizens of this state, I'd like to award the Order of California to each of the astronauts. First, Robert Crippen, will you stand up and see if I can put this around your neck? Yes, sir. All right. All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. Congratulations. Thank you. Oh, John? Okay. I want to give you the certificate from my national guard. Congratulations. I love it. Can I give you one little more to it? All right. Together, that's right. Come on. Come on, Richard. I'll take the picture. I don't know, you get a picture there.
From Land O'Lakes Country.
Out here, they serve a good hot country breakfast that includes buttery tasting Land O'Lakes margarine. The one they make here at Land O'Lakes Country. Tastes dairy fresh because they add fresh skim milk.
For good, fresh, buttery flavor, there is no margarine brand like the one from Butter People, the one from Butterland.
Land O'Lakes margarine from America's #1 butter maker.
It is an ironic rule of nature that things that look delicious, creamy, rich, and satisfying are fattening. It is another rule of nature that to every rule there is an exception. Sugar-free A&W root beer. As delicious, creamy, rich, and satisfying as it looks, definitely not fattening. Sugar-free A&W, the exception.
WREX-TV, Rockford, Illinois.
And Bob Crippen said that he had waited 12 years to get his flight in space, but it was well worth it. And he expressed confidence he won't have to wait that long to go back again. They're going away now.
Frank, those were very monumentous remarks by...
Yes, Gene, go ahead.
Those were significant remarks by John. I told you over the years of his experience, he certainly has mellowed quite a bit and thought very seriously about the work that he's involved in it. And he's right. We truly have evolved into the heavens one step further than we had in Apollo. We now have an opportunity not just to enjoy what we've done, but really make practical use and application of what we've done with the aid of a vehicle like the Columbia and with the efforts of people like John and Bob.
That award, by the way, that was given to the astronauts was also given to the 3 people from California who were hostages in Iran, the Order of California. Yeah, that was quite a thing to say. Not too far, the human race from going to the stars. He didn't put it in nationalistic terms either, did it? He talked about man, you know, mankind reaching for the stars.
Well, it is mankind that's reaching. We're a very small planet, a very beautiful star in the heavens, but we are very singular in nature. Although we create our own problems, when you stand back and look from 250,000 miles away, you don't see those boundaries. You don't see the language and color differences that we seem to make such a big thing of down here on Earth. And perhaps someday something like the shuttle will allow mankind to overlook those differences and coordinate his efforts together, as John said, in reaching for the stars.
The astronauts are going to go back to Houston now. They're leaving in this convoy, and they will arrive in Houston later on today at Ellington Air Force Base, where there will be more ceremonies of welcome. And of course, they're going to stay in Houston for a time and be debriefed and answer all the questions that all the technical experts,
Well,
scientists and others have prepared for them.
The first chance they'll have to relax is when they get on that Gulfstream 2, the shuttle training plane, which they've flown so much of the time in preparation for this flight, and can take off their shoes, sit back for about 3.5 hours. Again, they'll be captive with their families. I think they'll just really let loose at that time and relax and talk about the mission a little bit unofficially, and for the first time have a chance to think about it.
You mentioned, Gene, the view from space and how it makes all the problems that we inflict upon one another here on this beautiful Earth seem so ridiculous.